What if I told you that some of the largest, most mysterious structures on Earth were built long before anyone could even imagine them? Places where stone giants stand silently, guarding secrets that history has forgotten. Tonight, we'll wander through mountains, deserts, and oceans, discovering monumental creations carved, lifted, and shaped by hands we can barely understand, from colossal statues that touch the sky, to temples hidden beneath waves. Each site tells a story older than memory itself. So, lie back, let your eyes grow heavy, and let the mysteries of the past gently unfold around you. And if you stay with us until the end, don't forget to subscribe. The giant Buddha of Bamiyan, Afghanistan's lost monument. High in the remote valleys of central Afghanistan, where cliffs rise sharply against a vast blue sky, there once stood a marvel unlike any other, the giant Buddhas of Bamiyan, carved directly into the sandstone cliffs. These statues were colossal, towering figures that seemed to watch over the Bamiyan Valley with serene, timeless expressions. Even today, imagining their immense scale, over 50 meters for the taller statue, evokes awe. These statues were crafted in the 6th century, a time when the Silk Road flourished, connecting cultures, religions, and ideas across Asia. They were not just monuments, they were symbols of devotion, of artistry, and of the blending of human skill with natural landscapes. From afar, the Buddhas seemed to rise organically from the cliffs, as if the mountain itself had taken human form. Approaching the site, travelers would have felt a mixture of reverence and astonishment. The sheer size of the carvings is hard to comprehend. Standing at their base, you feel minuscule, almost swallowed by the monumental presence. Every detail, the folds of robes, the gentle smile, the serene posture, was meticulously sculpted, despite the immense size and the limitations of tools available at the time. What makes the giant Buddhas even more remarkable is the mystery surrounding their construction. The cliff faces are not smooth, they are jagged, weathered, and unforgiving. Yet the artists managed to carve directly into sandstone, creating precise contours that have endured centuries of harsh winds, temperature extremes, and occasional earthquakes. It is a testament to ancient ingenuity, to human patience, and to a deep spiritual devotion that transcends the ordinary. Surrounding the Buddhas were numerous caves, once home to monks and pilgrims. These chambers contained frescoes and smaller carvings, creating a complex sacred landscape that blended art, architecture, and nature. The site was not merely decorative, it was a functioning religious center, a place where people meditated, prayed, and sought guidance. Each pathway, each cave, seemed deliberately placed to create a spiritual journey, guiding visitors from the mundane world into contemplation. Tragically, in 2001, these awe-inspiring statues were destroyed. The world watched in shock as centuries of artistry were reduced to rubble. Yet even in destruction, the memory of the Buddhas remains vivid. Photographs, sketches, and oral histories preserve their essence, and the cliffs still bear the faint outlines of their former glory, a ghostly reminder of what once stood. Historians and archaeologists continue to debate aspects of their design. How did artists lift materials and sculpt such massive figures on vertical rock faces without modern scaffolding? How did they maintain the proportions over such enormous heights? Some suggest that complex wooden scaffolds, ropes, and ingenious measurement techniques allowed these masterpieces to take shape. Others wonder if there are techniques or knowledge that have simply been lost to time. Visiting the site today, one can feel the quiet power of the Buddhas. The valley echoes with history, the footsteps of pilgrims long gone, the chants of monks, the wind brushing against the carved faces. There is a sense of connection across time, as if the valley itself remembers the devotion and skill that went into creating these monumental figures. The Bamiyan Buddhas also carry stories beyond their artistic and religious significance. They stand as a testament to the cultural exchanges along the Silk Road, representing Buddhist influence in Central Asia. They remind us that ancient civilizations were interconnected, trading not only goods but also ideas, philosophies, and artistry. In many ways, the Buddhas of Bamiyan tell the story of human aspiration, our desire to create, to reach for the sublime, and to leave a mark that echoes through centuries. Even in absence, their presence is profound. Scholars, travelers, and artists continue to be inspired by what remains. The sheer scale, the surrounding caves, and the delicate traces of carvings. The site is now a UNESCO World Heritage location, preserving both history and imagination. It challenges us to reflect on the impermanence of human endeavors and the enduring power of creativity and faith. Standing there at sunset, the cliffs glow golden, and for a fleeting moment, one can almost see the Buddhas as they once were, tall, serene, and overlooking the valley with an eternal gaze. The story of Bamiyan is one of beauty, devotion, loss, and resilience. It is a reminder that even when monuments fall, their impact on human curiosity and wonder remains. If the story of the giant Buddhas of Bamiyan captivated your imagination, Don't forget to subscribe. There are more colossal ancient wonders and impossible monuments waiting to be explored, each one holding secrets carved, lifted, or imagined by those who came long before us. A city carved into a mountain. The sky fortress of Sigiriya. Imagine you're walking through the humid jungles of Sri Lanka. The air is thick, cicadas buzz loudly, and then, out of nowhere, a massive wall of stone rises straight into the sky. It doesn't look like a hill, it doesn't look like a mountain, it looks like a fortress, as if nature itself decided to build a castle long before humans ever arrived. This is Sigiriya, sometimes called the Lion Rock, 200 meters of sheer vertical stone with a flat plateau at the top. And over 1500 years ago, someone decided, yeah, that's where I'll build my palace. That someone was King Kashyapa. And his story, well, it's messy. We're talking betrayal, paranoia, fratricide, basically Game of Thrones but in the jungle. Kashyapa wasn't supposed to be king. His father was the ruler, his brother the rightful heir. But Kashyapa staged a coup, and depending on who you ask, he may have buried his father alive inside a wall. Not exactly the kind of thing that makes you popular at family dinners. So now Kashyapa's on the throne, but he's not sitting in the comfortable royal palace. Oh no, he's terrified. He knows his brother is out there somewhere, plotting revenge. So what does he do? He looks at this massive rock in the middle of the jungle and says, perfect, I'll turn this into a fortress nobody can touch. And he did, step by step, stone by stone. The climb to the top is brutal even today. Imagine doing it in the 5th century, with no safety rails, carrying bricks and plaster. But Kashyapa made it happen. Workers carved stairways into the rock. They built water gardens at the base, not just practical but beautiful, symmetrical pools, flowing fountains, canals. And here's the kicker. Some of those fountains still work today. Over 1500 years later, rainwater still fills the reservoirs, trickles through hidden channels, and sprays delicately from ancient spouts. Now think about that. We build fountains now with pumps, electricity, maintenance crews. But Kashyapa's engineers built something that's been running on gravity and clever design for a millennium and a half. That's not just impressive, that's insane. But the real magic of Sigiriya is when you start climbing. Halfway up you reach something called the mirror wall. It used to be so polished that you could see your reflection in it. Imagine this, an orange glow of sunset, birds wheeling overhead, and you, looking into a wall of gleaming plaster in the middle of a jungle mountain. And the wall isn't empty, it's filled with graffiti, scribbled poems, names, little notes left by travelers from over 1,000 years ago. Some are sweet, some are basically ancient trolling. One even complains about how many tourists were there. So yeah, human nature hasn't really changed. Then there are the frescoes, painted directly onto the stone. Images of women, possibly celestial nymphs, or maybe Kashyapa's own consorts. They're so vivid, even after centuries of monsoons and sun. Soft faces, flowing robes, jewelry that still sparkles under the light. You almost feel like they're watching you as you climb past. And finally, you reach the top, the summit, flat, wide, open. It was once Kashyapa's palace, complete with gardens, pools carved into stone, and what many believe was his royal throne. Imagine standing there, surrounded by water tanks cut out of the rock, looking across miles and miles of green jungle in every direction. No wonder he chose it. From here you could see anyone coming days in advance. But Kashyapa's story doesn't end well. His brother eventually returned with an army. Kashyapa rode out to face him. And here's where fate turned cruel. He rode his war elephant into battle. But at some point, the elephant panicked. Maybe it saw something. Maybe it stumbled. Whatever it was, it turned and fled. And when Kashyapa's troops saw their king retreating, they thought he was abandoning them, so they abandoned him. Kashyapa was left alone, surrounded by enemies. Rather than surrender, he took his own life. And just like that, the mighty king of Sigiriya was gone. After his death, the palace in the sky didn't vanish. It became a monastery. Monks lived there for centuries, carving out meditation caves, walking the same steps Kashyapa had walked in fear and ambition. And then, it faded into obscurity. The jungle swallowed it. Until colonial explorers stumbled upon it again centuries later, wide-eyed, staring up at the giant rock and saying, "What on earth is this?" Sigiriya remains one of archaeology's greatest puzzles. Was it truly just Kashyapa's fortress palace? Or did this place have a sacred significance even before him? Some argue it was a spiritual site, repurposed by the king. Others think there might be entire sections of the rock still hiding secrets, chambers we haven't found, inscriptions we haven't read. And that's the thing about Sigiriya. It's not just stone and history, it's mystery. It's the audacity of a man who thought he could build a city in the sky, and the quiet echo of thousands of lives that passed through its gates. So if you ever find yourself in Sri Lanka, and you look up at that towering rock, remember Kashyapa, remember the hands that carved the steps, the voices that wrote on the mirror wall, the colors that still cling to the stone. And ask yourself, what drives a person to carve a palace out of a mountain? Was it fear? Was it pride? Was it the search for immortality? Whatever it was, the rock still stands, and its story will probably outlast us all. The pyramid that could hold a mountain, Acapana, of Tiwanaku. High on the windswept plains of Bolivia, where the air is thin and the horizon seems endless, lies one of the strangest and most ambitious constructions of the ancient world. The site is called Tiwanaku, and at its heart, towering above the surrounding ruins, stands the Acapana Pyramid. From a distance, you might mistake it for a weathered hill, but step closer and you realize this isn't natural. It's carved, layered, engineered. A man-made mountain, built stone by stone nearly 1,500 years ago. Some call it the pyramid that could hold a mountain inside, and once you see it, you understand why. The Acapana Pyramid isn't as famous as Giza. It doesn't glimmer under the Egyptian sun or draw endless crowds of tourists. Instead, it sits in quiet silence, battered by wind and rain, half buried in the high-altitude soil. But make no mistake, it is colossal. The base stretches about 200 meters across. Its height, over 17 meters, though some scholars argue it was once much taller. And the stones that make it? Some weigh over 40 tons. Imagine dragging that weight across a plateau, without wheels, without iron tools, and somehow stacking it into terraces that form a massive stepped pyramid. Now here's the thing, when archaeologists started digging into Acapana, they found something extraordinary. This wasn't just a pile of stones, it was designed with precision. The pyramid was built in 7 terraces, each carefully shaped, and in its core they discovered an intricate system of drains. Yes, drains, hidden channels carved into the structure, designed to move rainwater from the summit all the way down through stone-lined canals. Some scholars believe the entire pyramid was engineered to function like a miniature mountain, a symbolic version of the sacred peaks surrounding the Andes. Think about that. Not just a monument, not just a temple, but a man-made mountain that carried water like a living, breathing thing. The people who built it were the Tiwanaku civilization. They thrived long before the Inca rose to power, yet their influence stretched across the Andes. Farmers, astronomers, architects, they turned a bleak, high-altitude plain into the center of a sprawling culture. And the Acapana? It was their masterpiece. Some archaeologists think it was a temple of rain. Others believe it was a cosmic observatory, aligned with the heavens. And there are those who whisper that it might have been something more, a place of power, where rituals blurred the line between earth and sky. When the Spanish first arrived, they thought it was a natural hill. That's how massive and weathered it had become. But the locals told them, no, this was built, layer upon layer, carved stone fitted together with astonishing skill. Let's slow down and picture it. Imagine walking up the pyramid in its prime. The steps gleam with cut andesite. The walls rise in perfect lines, each terrace held in place by enormous blocks. At the summit, there's a sunken courtyard, ringed by stones, where priests may have gathered. And when the rains came, water pooled at the top, then flowed gracefully through channels, cascading down the sides. It wasn't just functional, it was symbolic. A pyramid that mimicked the power of the mountains around it, a structure that tied heaven's rains to the earth's fertility. This was sacred architecture, on a scale so big it feels impossible. But here's the mystery. Why go through so much trouble? Why carve drains and channels into the heart of a pyramid? Why build something this massive when smaller temples would have been easier? Some believe Acapana was designed to replicate the sacred mountain Illimani, which looms over the region even today. Maybe the Tiwanaku believed that by recreating the mountain in stone, they could control the flow of water, the gift of life. Others point to the astronomical alignments, stand in certain spots, and the rising sun lines perfectly with carved gates and walls. It wasn't just a temple, it was a calendar, a map of the heavens written into stone. And then there are the more speculative voices, the ones who say this was a machine, a water harvesting, energy channeling device built with knowledge we don't understand. It sounds far-fetched, but when you're standing on top of Acapana, staring at the stone channels and perfect alignments, you can't help but wonder. The tragedy is that much of Acapana has been destroyed. Over centuries, people raided it for stone, hauling blocks away to build houses and churches. The Spanish tore into it, not realizing what they were breaking. Even in modern times, looters dug tunnels, searching for treasure that may never have existed. What remains is only a shadow of its former self. But even that shadow is breathtaking. Close your eyes for a moment. Picture the pyramid in its glory. The terraces rising in steps toward the sky. Priests in colorful robes gathered in the summit courtyard. The sound of water flowing through hidden channels, spilling from terrace to terrace. The chants echoing across the high plateau, mixing with the howl of the Andean wind. This was no ordinary pyramid. It was alive. A mountain made by human hands, pulsing with water and meaning. The Tiwanaku people eventually vanished. We don't know exactly why. Climate change, famine, conflict, the theories are many, but their legacy remains in stone. The Akapana still rises above the plain, scarred but standing, a reminder of a civilization that thought big, bigger than almost anyone else of their time. And that's what makes it so haunting, because when you stand there, among the ruins, you realize they moved mountains, not metaphorically, literally. They reshaped the land itself, and in doing so, they left behind a question we still can't answer. How? How did they do this with the tools they had? And more importantly, why? Was it religion? Power? A desperate attempt to control nature? Or something even stranger? Whatever the reason, the Akapana pyramid endures. A silent giant, a mountain within a mountain, and one of the greatest unsolved mysteries of the ancient world. A stairway to the gods, Ollantaytambo's impossible terraces. High in the sacred valley of Peru, among the jagged peaks of the Andes, there lies a place that feels almost alive. Its terraces climb the mountainside in long, precise steps, each one carved from stone with incredible skill. This is Ollantaytambo, a fortress, a temple, a city. From the moment you arrive, you notice the scale. The terraces are enormous, wide enough to walk across easily. They rise in steps that seem to reach the clouds. Every level is lined with stone walls. Some walls are still intact after hundreds of years, while others lean gently, worn by time. It is not just a building, it is a statement. According to history, Ollantaytambo was a stronghold of the Inca Empire. They used it as a fortress to defend against invaders, but it was also a religious site, a place where the Incas celebrated their gods, especially the sun. Yet when you look closely at the stonework, you notice something unusual. Some of the stones are massive. Some are carved with a precision that seems impossible, even by today's standards. Some researchers even believe parts of Ollantaytambo predate the Inca. They may have been built by an older culture whose knowledge has been lost. The terraces themselves are remarkable. They were not only practical but ingenious. Each terrace had layers of gravel and soil to manage water, to prevent landslides, and to create microclimates suitable for crops. In a harsh mountain environment, this was vital. Farmers could grow food where it might otherwise have been impossible. The terraces were functional, yes, but they were also monumental. They transformed the mountainside into a living space, ordered and controlled. At the top of the terraces sits the Temple of the Sun. 6 enormous monoliths form its main wall. Some weigh more than 50 tons, and the granite for these stones did not come from the mountain itself. It came from a quarry across the valley, several kilometers away. Transporting stones this heavy over uneven mountain paths is difficult to imagine. And yet the Inca, or possibly earlier builders, moved them. They positioned them with a precision that seems impossible without modern machinery. Some stones along the route were never used. They lie abandoned, partially shaped, as if work stopped mid-journey. We do not know why. Perhaps the project was interrupted by conflict. Perhaps there was an earthquake or some other disaster. Perhaps the builders simply vanished. The mystery remains. Ollantaytambo was also a site of incredible defense. When the Spanish conquistadors arrived in the 16th century, this fortress became the scene of one of the Inca's greatest victories. Manco Inca, leading a small army, used the terraces and rivers strategically to hold off a far larger force. He flooded fields, trapped cavalry in mud, and rained arrows and stones from above. The Spanish were forced to retreat, at least temporarily. It was a brief victory, but it demonstrates how carefully the site was designed. Yet beyond its practical uses, Ollantaytambo carries a sense of wonder. When you walk along the terraces, it is hard not to feel the ambition of the builders. Every stone seems to demand attention. Every wall whispers history. The terraces are more than steps. They are a connection between the earth and the sky, between humans and something greater. The monoliths of the Temple of the Sun are still the most fascinating. They are so large, so perfectly fitted together, that you cannot slip a finger between the seams. Modern engineers have studied them and say that aligning stones of this size with such accuracy is incredibly difficult even today. And yet, here they stand. Silent, immense, precise. Imagine the people who built this. Workers dragging stones, carefully shaping each block. Priests performing rituals. Farmers tending terraces far below. Soldiers guarding approaches. All of them moving within a structure that is both functional and awe-inspiring. It is a place where everyday life and divine ambition meet. Even today, people live in Ollantaytambo. Inca houses are still used. Streets still follow the old layouts. Life continues amid the ruins. And yet the terraces rise above it all, reminders of skill, vision, and perhaps knowledge we no longer fully understand. Standing at the top, looking down over the valley, you realize this is more than a fortress. It is a statement of power, a stairway to the gods, a challenge to anyone who studies it. The terraces, the walls, the temple, they ask questions we may never answer. How were they built? Why were they built this way? What knowledge was needed to move stones of such size, and place them so precisely? Ollantaytambo does not speak in words. It speaks in stone, in scale, in presence, and it leaves you with one undeniable thought. Whoever built this, they understood something extraordinary about their world. Something we are only beginning to glimpse. The terraces climb steadily upward, the walls still hold, the stones still fit together like a puzzle, and as you walk along the steps tracing the hands of those who came centuries before, you feel the calm and the awe of standing in a place built for gods, warriors, and people alike. It is a sight of incredible achievement, and yet, it is also a sight of mystery. Ollantaytambo reminds us that even in a world without modern technology, human ambition and skill can create wonders that endure for centuries. Even as the sun sets over the sacred valley, the terraces glow with a quiet light, the stones reflect the day's last warmth, and in that quiet, you can almost hear the voices of the past, not in words but in presence, not in writing but in stone. Ollantaytambo is not just history, it is a question carved into the Andes, a question that remains unanswered, a place that asks us to wonder, to imagine, and to remember the skill and vision of those who came before. And perhaps, as you drift toward sleep, thinking of these terraces climbing toward the sky, you realize that some mysteries are not meant to be solved, they are meant to be felt. The palace said to hold a monster, labyrinth of Knossos, high on the island of Crete, where the Aegean Sea laps gently against rugged shores, there lies a place wrapped in myths and stone. This is Knossos, the ancient Minoan palace, a labyrinth not just of walls and corridors, but of imagination, history, and secrets waiting patiently for discovery. From the moment you approach, Knossos impresses. The ruins are vast, sprawling over acres of uneven terrain. What survives today is only a fraction of what once stood, yet even in ruin, it exudes power. Towers rise above terraces, walls twist and turn, courtyards open unexpectedly, like chapters in a book waiting to be read. Every corner seems to hint at a story, something just out of reach. Legend says that within these walls, a monster once roamed, a creature called the Minotaur, half man, half bull. It is said to have lived in a labyrinth so complex that escape was impossible. Of course, myths grow from truth. Perhaps the Minotaur was symbolic, a tale to keep citizens in awe or enemies at bay. But when you wander the corridors of Knossos, you begin to understand why such a story could emerge. The palace is dizzying in its complexity. Passageways twist back on themselves. Some halls end abruptly, leading nowhere. Staircases climb in unexpected directions. Doors are unevenly placed, and rooms of different sizes and shapes appear in clusters. It is easy to feel disoriented. Archaeologists have studied Knossos for decades. Excavations reveal multi-story buildings, frescoed walls, advanced plumbing, and storage rooms filled with evidence of a sophisticated society. They built drainage systems and clay pipes that carried water across the palace. The Minoans were artists and engineers, and yet, amid all this sophistication, there is something mysterious. Some corridors and chambers seem purposeless. Some walls are thicker than necessary. Some rooms align with no apparent plan. Were these mistakes, or were they deliberate? Some researchers suggest the palace itself was a kind of labyrinth, a defensive measure, a symbolic representation of power, or even a ceremonial space meant to awe its visitors. The throne room is perhaps the most fascinating. A stone seat, slightly raised, stands alone. It is surrounded by benches and narrow corridors. Frescoes depict bulls in mid-leap, their muscles coiled with tension. Bulls were sacred to the Minoans, worshipped, feared, revered. In some ways the throne room feels alive. You can almost imagine the king or priest sitting there, overseeing rituals, while masked dancers performed in the courtyards below. And then there are the frescoes. Vibrant colors still cling to plaster walls, depicting scenes of animals, processions, and humans in motion. They are energetic, alive, but their purpose remains a mystery. Were they religious, decorative, educational, or messages meant for a select few? The more you stare at them, the more questions arise. Each figure seems to have a story, a meaning lost in time. Some chambers appear unusually small, their ceilings low, their floors uneven. Others are vast, open, almost theatrical. Some researchers speculate these were ceremonial, others that they were storage rooms or living quarters. But what seems most striking is the precision of construction. Large stones are fitted seamlessly together. Walls were plastered with care. Even after thousands of years, you can feel the skill of the builders, the care they took to shape a palace that could endure. The labyrinthine design may also have had a spiritual meaning. The Minoans worshipped gods we barely understand today. Perhaps the twisting corridors and hidden rooms represented the journey of life, the path to the underworld, or the trials one must face before reaching enlightenment. It is easy to feel that every turn, every chamber, every wall carries symbolic weight. Knossos was also a city of power and influence. Archaeological evidence shows that the Minoans traded across the Mediterranean. They were connected to Egypt, the Near East, and other Greek islands. Wealth, culture, and religion all converged here. And yet, despite their sophistication, Knossos was abandoned and largely forgotten after the decline of the Minoans. Earthquakes, invasions, and perhaps internal collapse left the palace in ruin, allowing only myths to survive. Walking through Knossos today, you can feel time folding. The walls are silent, yet they speak. They speak of artistry, power, belief, and mystery. You notice details easily overlooked: the curve of a staircase, the placement of a doorway, the shadow a wall casts at sunset. The palace is not just a ruin, it is a conversation across millennia. Even the most mundane elements are remarkable. Water channels, storage jars, and staircases reveal the Minoans' understanding of daily life and environment. Yet, as practical as some aspects were, others seem designed to confuse or amaze. Hidden passages and small chambers might have been used for rituals, or perhaps for political reasons, a way to control who could move through the palace and when. And of course, the legend of the Minotaur lingers. Even if it never existed, it adds weight to the experience. You can imagine stepping carefully through narrow halls, looking over your shoulder, aware that the palace itself could be the monster, or the maze, or the story that teaches caution, respect, or fear. Knossos reminds us that ancient people were capable of ingenuity, creativity, and complexity that can still astonish us. They did not just build structures, they built experiences, places that made you think, feel, and perhaps tremble a little. The palace rises in layers, the courtyards open, frescoes shine in muted sunlight, and as you move through its corridors, it becomes clear that every choice the builders made was intentional. Every passage, every wall, every hidden chamber served a purpose, whether practical, spiritual, or symbolic. Even after thousands of years, Knossos holds its secrets. Some rooms may never be fully understood, some meanings may be lost forever, but that is the charm, that is the draw. It invites curiosity, speculation, and imagination, and in the quiet of the ruins, it almost whispers stories to those who will listen. Stories of power, of artistry, of people who lived, worshipped, and dreamed long before we arrived. The labyrinth is silent now, yet alive in memory, and as you imagine walking its corridors, the walls seem to close gently around you, not in threat, but in invitation, to wonder, to explore, to sleep with your mind adrift in stories older than most of history. Knossos is not just a ruin, it is an experience, a story, a question, and perhaps, as you lean back and let your thoughts wander, you feel a connection to the builders, the myths, and the enduring mystery that no one can fully explain. The Liangzhu stone platforms, China's ancient megastructures. In the wetlands of the Yangtze River Delta, where mist rolls over rice paddies and rivers wind like silver ribbons, there lies a secret that has silently endured for over 5,000 years. These are the Liangzhu stone platforms, vast, enigmatic constructions that hint at a civilization of surprising sophistication. From above, the layout is staggering. Massive platforms rise slightly from the flat landscape, interconnected by channels and ditches. Some stones weigh several tons, some stretch for dozens of meters, and yet there is no recorded history that fully explains their purpose. No inscriptions tell us who built them, or why. They simply exist, monumental and silent. Archaeologists first stumbled upon Liangzhu in the 1930s. Though local farmers had known the strange raised grounds for generations, excavations revealed large rectangular platforms, each meticulously constructed with cut stone. These were not casual arrangements. They were precise. Some platforms aligned perfectly with the cardinal directions. Others seemed to correspond with astronomical events, as if the builders were counting stars while stacking stone. The largest platform, stretching over 100 meters, is so imposing that you can feel its presence even today. Walking across it, you notice subtle changes in elevation. Carefully placed stones that seem to guide movement, as if orchestrating human flow in ways we can no longer understand. Some researchers suggest ceremonial purposes, rituals conducted for kings, priests, or perhaps the gods themselves. Others propose that these platforms were elite residences, stages for public events, or even territorial markers. The truth remains elusive. One of the most puzzling aspects is the sheer labor that must have gone into these constructions. The stones are heavy, the platforms are large. There are no signs of advanced machinery, yet somehow the Liangzhu people managed to move and place them with remarkable precision. How did they do it? Using manpower alone? Or perhaps unknown tools that have been lost to time? Even more intriguing is what lies beneath the stone. Excavations have uncovered jade artifacts, ceremonial weapons, and ritual objects buried carefully under the platforms. Jade, prized and difficult to work, hints at a society that not only valued artistry, but had the resources to dedicate immense effort to non-utilitarian objects. These were not merely practical people. They were builders, planners, and dreamers, invested in things that extended beyond survival. The platforms also appear to be part of a larger network. Nearby, smaller stone structures, canals, and raised pathways suggest careful urban planning. Water management seems to have been a priority. The channels could have diverted floodwaters, controlled irrigation, or even served ritualistic functions. It's easy to imagine the people of Liangzhu walking these platforms, carrying out ceremonies, navigating a city built to impress and endure. And yet, the civilization disappeared. By around 2300 BCE, evidence shows that the Liangzhu culture collapsed. Floods, environmental changes, or societal upheaval may have played a role. Whatever the reason, the platforms remained, silent witnesses to a people who vanished from the record, leaving behind only stone, jade, and mystery. The sheer scale and precision of Liangzhu leave modern engineers astonished. Stones interlock, platforms are elevated to prevent flooding, and the layout suggests a deep understanding of geometry and hydraulics. All this without written records, without metal tools, without machinery. The mind struggles to reconcile the sophistication of the structures with the limited technology we assume they had. Walking across the platforms today, the mist often thickens, and the distant sound of water trickling through channels creates a rhythm almost meditative. It is easy to imagine the sight as it once was. Priests or rulers walking deliberately, rituals unfolding, the community watching from terraces, perhaps in awe or reverence. Archaeologists continue to study the Liangzhu platforms, uncovering pottery, jade axes, and ornaments. Each discovery adds pieces to the puzzle, but the overall picture remains incomplete. Who planned such vast structures? How did they manage the labor? Why these particular designs? What cultural or religious meanings did the platforms hold? The platforms speak quietly. Their stones are cold, yet purposeful. Their design is meticulous, yet mysterious. They are reminders that ancient people, even without writing or metal, could imagine, plan, and execute projects that challenge our understanding today. There is also a strange sense of universality. Across the world, civilizations have built megaliths, pyramids, and platforms. Why? Why the obsession with stone and scale? Perhaps it is a human trait to reach for permanence, to leave a mark that endures beyond lifetimes. The Liangzhu stone platforms are just one of many examples, yet their isolation, precision, and silence make them feel almost extraterrestrial. As night falls, the platforms take on a different character. Mist thickens, stars reflect off wet stones, and the weight of history seems heavier. You can almost hear echoes of ceremonies long past, feel the footsteps of those who once walked here, and yet nothing remains but stone and water, leaving the imagination free to wander through possibilities and questions that have no definitive answers. Liangzhu challenges assumptions. It reminds us that the ancient world was not simple. It was intricate, thoughtful, and surprisingly advanced. Every stone placed here is a testament to ambition, ritual, and an understanding of the environment that many modern constructions struggle to match. Even as modern science continues to investigate, some aspects may never be understood, and perhaps that is the beauty. The platforms are a gift to our curiosity, inviting us to imagine, ponder, and dream of civilizations that lived in harmony with the earth, their ambitions reaching into the heavens. As you let your mind drift over the stones, across canals, and through vanished courtyards, you realize that the Liangzhu stone platforms are more than just ancient ruins. They are a story carved in stone, a testament to human ingenuity, and a puzzle that still whispers across 5,000 years of history, inviting you to wonder and dream. The Unexplained petroglyph walls, Alaska's giant stone carvings. Far up in Alaska, where the wind whistles through rugged mountains and the snow lingers long into the year, there lies a secret carved in stone. These are the Unexplained petroglyph walls, towering cliffs etched with images that have survived thousands of years, patiently waiting for anyone to notice. At first glance, it might seem like a lonely stretch of rock, silent and empty, but as your eyes adjust, patterns begin to emerge. Figures of animals, humans, abstract symbols, all chiseled with surprising precision. Some carvings are small, delicate, almost hidden. Others are massive, towering several meters, demanding attention, as if meant to awe any who gazed upon them. No one truly knows who created them. Scholars suggest ancient Alaskan peoples, perhaps hunter-gatherers who roamed these lands long before recorded history, yet the size and scale of the carvings leave room for doubt. These walls were not casual art projects. They were deliberate, monumental statements, messages across time, frozen in stone. Walking along the cliffs, you can feel the effort it must have taken. The The sheer weight of the rock, the altitude, the cold, and the wind, all obstacles the ancient artists had to overcome. Perhaps they used basic stone tools, maybe antlers or harder stones, painstakingly chiseling each figure over months or even years. Every groove, every line, every curve tells a story we can only guess at today. Some carvings depict animals, bears with curling claws, caribou mid-stride, birds with wings spread wide. Others show humans, engaged in hunts or ceremonies. Their faces sometimes clear, sometimes abstract, like dreams caught in stone. Then there are the symbols, geometric patterns that make little sense to modern eyes, yet may have carried sacred meaning, guiding rituals or marking important events. Archaeologists have tried to date the petroglyphs, but the answers remain uncertain. Some suggest they are several thousand years old, older than the earliest permanent settlements in the region. Others believe that the style indicates different generations of carvers, adding layers of meaning over centuries, creating a living canvas of cultural memory. The location itself is curious. The cliffs overlook rivers and valleys where wildlife thrives. Perhaps the ancient carvers chose these walls deliberately, connecting the carvings to hunting grounds, sacred sites, or celestial observations. Some researchers notice alignments with the sun at certain times of the year, as if the carvings were meant to interact with light and shadow, creating temporary patterns during solstices or equinoxes. One of the most striking features is the scale. A human figure carved 3 meters tall is no small feat. Imagine standing in the freezing wind, chipping stone inch by inch, shaping each line with care and intent. It's exhausting just to imagine. Yet the artist persisted, leaving behind images that speak not only of skill but of a worldview, a desire to communicate something beyond survival, beyond daily life. And then there's the mystery of meaning. Were these carvings maps, stories, religious icons? Did they mark territory or commemorate events? Or were they meant to be understood only by the initiated? A secret language of the ancients, whispering through millennia. Modern interpretation struggles because we are outsiders, seeing only fragments and making assumptions. The original purpose may be lost forever. As night falls over the cliffs, the atmosphere changes. Shadows stretch across the carvings, the wind softens, and the river below murmurs like a distant memory. The petroglyphs seem almost alive, as if acknowledging the passage of time while keeping their secrets. Standing here, it's easy to feel both awe and humility. These walls are monumental not just in size, but in ambition. They are a testament to the human need to create, to record, to reach across time. Even today, the Inniskin petroglyph walls challenge expectations. They remind us that ancient societies, often considered primitive, possessed vision, creativity, and patience on a scale that defies understanding. No written records explain their motivations. No civilization guidebook instructed them how to carve giant stone figures on sheer cliffs. And yet, they did it. Some carvings have weathered away, leaving faint traces of what once was. Others remain sharp, cutting across the millennia. Modern technology, drones, 3D scanning, and high-resolution photography has allowed us to preserve and study them in unprecedented detail. But even with all these tools, the emotional impact of standing before the walls in person cannot be replicated. You feel small, yet connected, part of a continuum that stretches back thousands of years. Local legends also surround the site. Some tales speak of spirits who guard the carvings, protecting the wisdom of the ancients. Others tell of travelers who, upon witnessing the walls at dawn, experience visions of hunts, ceremonies, and forgotten peoples. Whether myth or memory, these stories add layers of wonder, making the Inniskin petroglyph walls more than stone. They are living memories of imagination and culture. The carvings also pose technical questions. How did ancient people scale these cliffs safely? How did they maintain proportion over such large figures? How did they visualize what the final image would look like on a vertical surface? The answers elude us, emphasizing the mystery. Every new discovery only deepens the fascination. As you walk away from the walls carrying the memory of enormous figures etched by hands long gone, you realize the Inniskin petroglyphs are not merely archaeological relics. They are a meditation, a quiet challenge across time, inviting us to ponder creativity, perseverance, and the stories we leave behind. The giant carvings hold no easy answers. They offer only wonder, curiosity, and a profound sense of human achievement. And in their silent, weathered presence, they remind us that some mysteries are meant to endure, whispering to every generation that passes by, urging us to dream, imagine, and sometimes, simply marvel. The Alaka Hoyuk Sphinx Gate, Turkey's giant stone guardian. Deep in the heart of ancient Anatolia, nestled among rolling hills and fertile plains, lies a site that has captured the curiosity of archaeologists for generations. Alaka Hoyuk, one of Turkey's most remarkable ancient settlements, holds secrets that continue to puzzle historians. Among its treasures, one structure stands out, The Sphinx Gate, a colossal stone guardian that seems to watch over the ruins with a silent, imposing presence. At first glance, it is easy to be struck by sheer scale. The Sphinx Gate is not a doorway in the conventional sense, it is a monument. Two towering sphinx-like statues flank the entrance, their muscular bodies carved from massive stone blocks, their faces poised in a timeless expression of vigilance. The craftsmanship is extraordinary, even by modern standards. Every curve, every proportion speaks of careful planning, artistry, and a deep understanding of stonework. Who created these giants? Why here, in this relatively small settlement? Scholars suggest that the Hatti, an ancient Anatolian people predating the Hittites, were responsible. Yet the scale and ambition of the Sphinx Gate suggest a society with considerable organization, vision, and perhaps even religious or ceremonial sophistication that we are only beginning to appreciate. Walking closer, you notice the details. The statues' faces are calm but commanding. Their paws stretch forward, anchoring them to the earth. Their eyes, though worn by millennia, seem to follow every visitor, an effect both eerie and captivating. It is as if the gate was meant not merely to guard the physical space, but to project authority, to impress, to instill a sense of awe in anyone who approached. The gate itself was part of a larger complex, the remains of a fortified settlement with walls, ceremonial areas, and burial mounds. Archaeological was more than a village, it was a center of power, ritual, and possibly trade. The Sphinx Gate served as both a threshold and a symbol, marking the boundary between the ordinary world and the sacred or administrative core of the settlement. The mystery deepens when considering the construction. Each sphinx was carved from enormous stone blocks, some weighing several tons. Moving, shaping, and assembling these without metal tools, cranes, or wheels is almost inconceivable. Ancient workers would have relied on sheer manpower, ingenuity, and possibly techniques now lost to history. How did they measure proportions so precisely? How did they lift and place stones with such accuracy? These questions remain unanswered, leaving a lingering sense of wonder. Some archaeologists propose that the Sphinx Gate had symbolic meaning beyond mere guardianship. Sphinxes are often associated with protection, wisdom, and riddles in various cultures. Perhaps these statues were meant to safeguard sacred knowledge or to honor deities long forgotten. Their imposing presence could have conveyed both fear and respect, reminding all who entered that this was a space of consequence. The surrounding site adds further intrigue. Burials near the gate contained rich grave goods, intricately crafted jewelry, weapons, and ceremonial objects. These findings hint at a complex society with hierarchical structures, ritual practices, and artistic traditions. The sphinxes might have been more than protective figures. They could have represented the authority of rulers, the guardianship of the afterlife, or even celestial symbolism aligned with the cycles of the sun and moon. Over time, the elements have weathered the Sphinx Gate. Wind, rain, and seismic activity have softened some features. Yet the statues remain imposing, their scale undiminished. Even in ruin, they inspire awe. Standing before them, one feels a direct connection to a people who lived thousands of years ago, who invested immense effort into a vision that still communicates across time. Visitors today often describe a sense of calm mixed with unease when approaching the gate. It is a reminder that the past was not simple. These were people who dared to dream, to build, and to leave a legacy that would outlast generations. The Sphinx Gate invites contemplation. What drove them to carve such monumental figures? What stories, beliefs, or warnings did they wish to pass on? Modern technology has allowed researchers to study the gate in unprecedented detail. 3D scanning, photogrammetry, and structural analysis reveal construction techniques and the incredible precision of ancient workmanship. Yet these tools cannot capture the emotional impact of standing beneath the towering sphinxes, nor the quiet awe that fills the mind when imagining the effort required to create them. The Sphinx Gate also poses unanswered questions about cultural connections. Similar sphinx-like figures appear in other parts of the ancient world, in Egypt, Mesopotamia, and the broader Near East. Did ideas travel across vast distances, influencing Anatolian artisans? Or did the concept of guardian figures arise independently in different regions? A shared human impulse to monumentalize protection and power. As the sun dips behind the hills surrounding Archaeological, the gate casts long shadows across the settlement. The stone giants remain silent, yet their presence feels alive, a timeless testament to human creativity, ambition, and mystery. Every visitor leaves with a sense of wonder, carrying with them questions that may never be fully answered. In the end, the Archaeological Sphinx Gate is more than stone. It is an enduring story, frozen in time, inviting us to marvel at the ingenuity of our ancestors and the mysteries they left behind. It reminds us that even in the harshest landscapes, humans have always sought to create, to communicate, and to leave a mark that whispers across millennia. The Sarmizegetusa Regia fortifications, Dacian stone giants. High in the dense forests of the Carpathian Mountains, in what is now modern Romania, lies a place that once served as the heart of the Dacian kingdom, Sarmizegetusa Regia. Hidden among the rolling hills and steep ridges, this ancient citadel whispers stories of a civilization that thrived long before the Roman legions arrived, a people whose architectural prowess continues to puzzle and mesmerize. The fortifications themselves are nothing short of astonishing. Massive stone walls, carefully fitted without mortar, snake across the mountain slopes. Their scale is impressive, but it's the precision and design that truly baffle modern researchers. Blocks weighing several tons are stacked with extraordinary care. Some sections rise as high as 10 meters, their sheer weight and size defying easy explanation. Imagine standing there, beneath a towering stone wall. The cold mountain air brushes past, and you can almost feel the ghosts of Dacian sentries who once patrolled these heights. Their world was one of vigilance and defense, of constant awareness that invaders might come. And yet, they created more than just military structures. They built ceremonial sanctuaries, circular sanctums, and mysterious stone platforms whose exact purposes remain shrouded in mystery. The mysterious stone pillars, arranged in geometric patterns, seem to resonate with an almost ritualistic purpose. Archaeologists speculate they might have been used to track the movements of the sun or moon, perhaps serving as an ancient calendar. Some stones align precisely with solstices and equinoxes, a silent testament to the Dacians' sophisticated understanding of astronomy. Standing among them, you can't help but feel a quiet awe at the ingenuity of a people who achieved such feats without modern tools or machinery. Then there are the fortifications themselves. The walls are thick and imposing, built from massive blocks of sandstone and limestone. Every corner, every joint, is meticulously crafted. The engineering knowledge required to erect such structures on steep, uneven terrain is staggering. How did they transport these enormous stones up rugged mountain paths? How did they lift them into place with such precision? Some stones weigh as much as several tons, yet they fit together perfectly, interlocking in ways that have stood the test of 2 millennia. Walking deeper into Sarmizegetusa Regia, you encounter the sacred precincts. Circular stone sanctuaries rise from the forest floor, their purpose still debated. Some scholars believe they were altars for religious ceremonies, spaces for offerings to gods or celestial deities. Others suggest they were astronomical observatories, carefully aligned to the movements of the sun, moon, and stars. The truth may lie somewhere in between, a combination of ritual, observation, and symbolism. Artifacts found within the fortifications further deepen the mystery. Tools, pottery, and weaponry hint at a thriving society. Yet many objects are unique in design, suggesting traditions and skills not fully understood today. Bronze axes, gold bracelets, and intricately carved ceramics reveal a culture that valued both utility and artistry. These were people who fought and defended, but also observed, calculated, and expressed themselves through material culture. One of the most remarkable aspects of Sarmizegetusa Regia is its layout. The citadel seems almost alive, adapted to the contours of the mountains, blending seamlessly with the landscape. There is a rhythm to the walls, terraces, and platforms, a logic that suggests planning and foresight. The placement of each stone, each structure, appears intentional, echoing a sophisticated understanding of both defense and harmony with nature. Yet, despite all this knowledge, so much remains unknown. Why did the Dacians choose this location? What prompted such monumental construction in a remote mountainous region? Some theories point to strategic necessity. The high altitude offered natural defenses, but the scale and artistry suggest there was more at play, perhaps a symbolic expression of power, spirituality, or cosmic connection. Modern researchers continue to study Sarmizegetusa Regia, using drones, 3D scanning, and archaeological surveys to unravel its secrets. Every new discovery sparks further questions. The interlocking stone walls, the ceremonial sanctuaries, and the stone platforms remain, in many ways, an unsolved puzzle. What messages were the Dacians hoping to leave behind? What knowledge, lost to time, was encoded in these stones? Standing amid these stone giants, one feels the weight of history. There is a quiet majesty here, a sense that the Dacians were not merely builders, they were visionaries. People capable of creating structures that could endure centuries of nature's forces and human curiosity alike. The fortifications, the sanctuaries, the aligned stones, they are all reminders of a civilization that, though conquered, still whispers its story to those who listen closely. And as the sun sets behind the Carpathians, casting long shadows across the stone walls, one can almost hear the echoes of the past, the footsteps of guardians, the rituals of priests, and the daily life of a society whose ambition reached far beyond survival. Sarmizegetusa Regia stands today not just as ruins but as a monument to human ingenuity. a silent witness to a civilization that built stone giants to guard, to awe, and to endure. The Dacians may be gone, but their legacy remains, carved in the enduring strength of these walls and platforms. And for anyone who visits, there is a quiet, almost hypnotic sense of connection to a past that continues to puzzle, inspire, and enchant. The Clava Cairns, Scotland's mysterious stone circles. Nestled quietly among the rolling hills and misty valleys of Inverness, Scotland, lies a site that seems almost untouched by time. The Clava Cairns are ancient stone circles, cairns, and burial sites, each one whispering stories from over 4,000 years ago. Walking among them, it is easy to forget the modern world, as though the mist itself carries echoes from the Bronze Age, rustling secrets only the stones remember. At first glance, the Clava Cairns appear simple, circular arrangements of stones surrounding burial mounds. But a closer look reveals extraordinary precision. The stones are carefully shaped, positioned, and aligned. Some circles frame the sun during solstices, others mark lunar paths. Each arrangement suggests that the builders understood not just the land beneath their feet, but the skies above them. Imagine standing in the center of a stone circle at dawn. The sun rises slowly, its rays striking one particular stone with perfect alignment. For the people who built these cairns, such moments may have been sacred, marking festivals, seasons, or spiritual transitions. We can only speculate, but the feeling is undeniable. These stones are more than markers, they are silent observers of time, nature, and human life. The cairns themselves are fascinating. Some are passage tombs, covered with earth and stone, leading to narrow chambers inside. Archaeologists have found evidence of cremations, carefully placed remains, and offerings, objects left for the journey beyond. These chambers are low and narrow, creating a sense of intimacy, of stepping into the very hearts of people long gone. The builders seemed intent on connecting the living with the dead, the earthly with the celestial. Walking among the Clava Cairns, one notices subtle details. Many stones are ringed with smaller standing stones, forming concentric patterns. Some stones are made of red granite, others of white limestone. Some have been deliberately split or shaped. The alignment of each stone with others across the landscape appears deliberate, as though the builders were creating a network that spans time and space. How did they move these stones? Some weigh several tons, yet they were transported across fields and hills without wheels or modern tools. The technique remains a mystery, yet the result is undeniable. A structure that has endured for millennia, resisting weather, erosion, and the slow march of time. There is also a sense of rhythm to the site. Some circles are larger, others smaller. Some stones are set upright, others tilted slightly toward specific celestial events. Archaeologists speculate that the variations may indicate different purposes, some for burial, others for ceremonial gatherings, and some perhaps for astronomical observation. Yet the exact intentions remain elusive, and the Clava Cairns retain their quiet enigma. Local legend and folklore add another layer of intrigue. Stories speak of fairies, spirits, and ancient rituals, linking the stones to mystical forces beyond human comprehension. Whether grounded in reality or imagination, these tales reflect the profound impact the site has had on those who have walked its circles over the centuries. Excavations have revealed artifacts, bronze implements, beads, and fragments of pottery, each giving a glimpse into the lives of those who constructed these cairns. Yet, for every object discovered, countless others remain lost to time. It is as if the Clava Cairns themselves are guardians, revealing only fragments of their story, inviting curiosity, awe, and reflection. Even today, the Clava Cairns evoke a sense of wonder that is hard to put into words. Standing among these ancient stones, one feels a connection across thousands of years. The builders may have long vanished, but their vision, their care, and their knowledge of the land and sky endure. Every stone seems deliberate, every alignment thoughtful, every circle a portal into a distant past. As the mist rises and sunlight dances across the moss-covered stones, the Clava Cairns hold their silent vigil. They are not just monuments or burial sites, they are storytellers, historians, and guardians of memory. They remind us that humanity has always sought to mark its passage, to honor life and death, and to reach for something greater than ourselves. To walk among the Clava Cairns is to step softly into history, to feel the weight of generations, and to marvel at what humans can achieve, even in an era without modern tools or machines. These stone circles endure, and with them, a quiet, timeless mystery that continues to fascinate, to inspire, and to invite endless contemplation. The Zoretz Karar, Armenia's giant stone cemetery. High on the rolling hills of Armenia, near the quiet town of Sisian, lies a site that is as mysterious as it is ancient. Zoretz Karar, often called Armenia's Stonehenge. But unlike its British counterpart, Zoretz Karar feels wilder, more untamed, and somehow closer to the earth itself. Stepping among the hundreds of upright stones, some weighing several tons, one can feel the sheer scale of human ambition stretching back over 5,000 years. At first glance, the site seems like a simple arrangement of stones, yet, as you move closer, the details emerge. Many stones are carefully set, aligned with precision. Some stand in rows, others in circles, and some are tilted just so, pointing toward the rising sun, or specific stars. These arrangements suggest that the people who built Zoret's Carer had an intimate understanding of both the heavens and the landscape around them. The site is often referred to as a cemetery. Many of the stones are thought to mark burial sites, though actual human remains are sparse. Archaeologists speculate that these stones may have been memorials, gravestones, or markers of sacred places. Some of the stones bear holes drilled through them, perhaps for ritual purposes or astronomical observations, a detail that adds to the enigma of the site. Walking among the stones, it is impossible not to imagine the builders. Who were they? What drove them to erect such massive stones in this remote, rocky landscape? There are no written records, no inscriptions, no obvious signs of everyday life nearby. Only the stones remain, standing silently, pointing to a past that seems both grand and elusive. The sheer size of some of the megaliths is staggering. One stone might weigh more than 10 tons, yet it was transported and positioned with remarkable precision. Without modern tools, cranes, or wheels, how did the ancient Armenians accomplish this? The methods remain speculative, with some theories suggesting simple levers, ramps, and a large workforce. But even with these explanations, the feat feels almost impossible. Zoret's Carer is not just a cemetery. Some researchers suggest it was an astronomical observatory. Certain stones align with the solstices and equinoxes, while others may have tracked lunar cycles or the movements of bright stars. Standing there at dawn or dusk, it is easy to feel a quiet awe, imagining ancient people observing the heavens and recording time in stone, their knowledge encoded in patterns that have survived millennia. The atmosphere of the site is captivating. On foggy mornings, the stones appear like sentinels rising from the mist. Birds circle overhead, and the wind whispers across the hillside. It's easy to imagine ceremonies taking place here, fires flickering at night, and the sounds of chants or instruments echoing across the landscape. The site seems alive, a place where past and present meet, and where mysteries remain deliberately unsolved. Artifacts found nearby provide glimpses into the lives of the builders. Pottery fragments, tools, and remnants of hearths suggest that people lived and worked in the surrounding area. Yet these objects tell only part of the story. The stones themselves seem to dominate the landscape, commanding attention and respect, and hinting at a culture that valued memory, astronomy, and perhaps spirituality in ways we are only beginning to understand. Many legends surround Zoret's Carer. Local folklore speaks of giants who moved the stones, of spirits that linger among them, and of ancient kings whose graves were marked by these megaliths. While these stories may be myth, they reflect the impact the site has had on human imagination over thousands of years. One of the most striking aspects is the site's endurance. Despite centuries of weather, earthquakes, and human activity, the stones remain largely intact. The alignments still function, the patterns are still visible. Time has not erased the deliberate choices of the builders, and we are left to marvel at their vision, precision, and dedication. As the sun sets over the hills of Armenia, casting long shadows across the stones, Zoret's Carer takes on an almost mystical quality. It is a reminder that human ambition, knowledge, and curiosity existed long before written history. It challenges our assumptions about ancient people and their capabilities, urging us to consider that there are truths buried in the past that we may never fully uncover. The stones of Zoret's Carer endure quietly, speaking to anyone willing to listen. They are a silent cemetery, a cosmic calendar, a testament to ingenuity, and a monument to mystery. Standing among them, one feels a connection to something timeless, a humbling reminder of human creativity and the secrets that still linger, waiting for those patient enough to observe and wonder. The Tiahuanaco H-blocks, Bolivia's impossible stonework. High on the windswept plains of Bolivia's Altiplano, near the shores of Lake Titicaca, lies a site that has puzzled archaeologists, engineers, and historians for over a century: Tiahuanaco. Within this ancient city, among scattered ruins and ceremonial platforms, lie the legendary H-blocks, massive stone pieces carved with an almost impossible precision. At first glance, the H-blocks may seem like ordinary stones, but a closer look reveals the astonishing detail and uniformity in their construction. Each block is shaped with right angles, perfectly straight edges, and channels that interlock with other blocks like pieces of a giant stone puzzle. They are not mere building blocks, they are a testament to a lost understanding of engineering, geometry, and craftsmanship. Some of these blocks weigh over 100 tons, yet they were moved across uneven terrain without wheels, cranes, or modern machinery. The questions that arise are immediate and persistent. How were these stones cut so precisely? How were they transported, aligned, and fitted together with such exactness? And why? The H-blocks do not just challenge our understanding of history, they challenge what we believe ancient humans were capable of achieving. Imagine standing before a row of H-blocks. The sun is rising, casting long shadows that trace the edges of each channel and groove. Even today, modern engineers using laser equipment cannot replicate the precision of these blocks without industrial machinery. The stones fit together so perfectly that not even a thin sheet of paper can slide between some of the joints. It is a level of accuracy that seems impossible for a culture that supposedly lacked metal tools and complex machines. The purpose of the H-blocks remains uncertain. Some researchers believe they were part of ceremonial platforms designed to support massive structures or religious edifices. Others suggest they may have been components of water management systems, with channels designed to channel, direct, or contain water. Whatever their purpose, the blocks themselves suggest a systematic, modular approach to construction that predates similar techniques in other ancient civilizations. The blocks are not all identical, yet patterns emerge. Some feature U-shaped grooves, others square channels, and some are drilled with cylindrical holes that line up with astonishing accuracy across different stones. The level of planning and technical knowledge required to achieve this precision is remarkable, especially considering that the society that built them left no written record explaining their methods. Moving such massive stones was an equally daunting challenge. Some blocks were quarried from andesite and diorite, rocks that are harder than most metals. Transporting them from distant quarries, sometimes 10 kilometers away, across the high-altitude plains of Bolivia would have been a monumental task. Theories abound: wooden sledges, ropes, levers, but none fully explain how this was achieved with the resources archaeologists believe were available at the time. Tiahuanaco itself is a city of mysteries. Around the H-blocks lie ceremonial plazas, sunken courts, and monolithic gateways, all suggesting a culture with profound architectural and astronomical knowledge. The site aligns with solstices and cardinal points, hinting at a civilization deeply connected to the sky and the movement of celestial bodies. The H-blocks are not isolated artifacts. They are part of a broader context that suggests sophistication far beyond what was previously assumed for pre-Columbian societies. Walking among these stones, one feels a sense of reverence and humility. The scale, the precision, and the mystery of the H-blocks inspire awe. Modern engineers continue to experiment, attempting to replicate the techniques, but each attempt highlights how remarkable the original work truly is. Even with today's technology, recreating these blocks requires enormous effort, yet the original builders accomplished it with seemingly minimal tools. Some have suggested that the H-blocks are evidence of a lost technology, knowledge that was forgotten or deliberately hidden over time. Others argue that it is a demonstration of human ingenuity, the result of careful planning, experimentation, and collaborative effort over generations. Perhaps the truth lies somewhere in between, a culture that understood principles we are only beginning to grasp, a civilization whose methods were so effective that their constructions have endured for millennia. Despite centuries of study, the H-blocks continue to captivate visitors. Each stone is a puzzle, each groove a challenge to the imagination. Archaeologists, engineers, and travelers alike are drawn to Tiahuanaco, standing in awe of a civilization that left behind not just monuments but questions. The H-blocks do not just tell a story of construction, they tell a story of ambition, knowledge, and mystery. As the wind sweeps across the plains and the sun dips toward the horizon, the H-blocks remain silent witnesses to time. They do not speak, but they communicate something profound. Human history is far richer, more intricate, and more mysterious than we often imagine. The precision, scale, and placement of these stones challenge our assumptions and remind us that the past holds secrets still waiting to be understood. Tiahuanaco and its H-blocks are not just archaeological treasures, they are enduring enigmas. They invite curiosity, reflection, and wonder. They whisper to us across the centuries, urging us to question what we know about human achievement, ancient civilizations, and the boundaries of possibility. Even today, as we study these stones, the questions persist. How were they made? How were they moved? And why? These stones were not randomly placed. They were part of a vision, a plan, a civilization, whose mastery over stone and space defies explanation. And perhaps that is the most humbling lesson of all, that human history contains marvels we are still only beginning to appreciate. The H-blocks of Tiahuanaco remain as they have for thousands of years, silent, precise, and impossible to fully comprehend. They challenge us, inspire us, and remind us that there are mysteries in our world that no time can erase. The Rudkan Castle, stone walls, Iran's massive ancient fortifications. Deep in the lush, misty forests of northern Iran, Near the winding rivers and rolling hills of the Gilan province lie the stone walls of Rudkan Castle. From a distance they appear as if nature itself has sculpted them, snaking along steep ridges and clinging to the mountainside. But these walls are not the work of the earth, they are the product of human hands. And yet, the scale and precision of this ancient fortification leave visitors in awe and historians baffled. Rudkan Castle, often called the Castle of the Thousand Steps, is a fortress built on a mountain, its walls stretching for nearly 2 kilometers. They are not mere enclosures, they are imposing fortifications, built to protect, to intimidate, and to endure. The stones used to construct these walls are massive, irregularly shaped, yet they fit together with surprising stability. Walking along them, one cannot help but marvel at the engineering knowledge required to build such a structure in an age long before modern machinery. The castle is perched on a hill, accessible only by a series of steep, winding paths. The walls follow the natural contours of the mountain, rising and falling with the terrain, bending around cliffs and ridges. Each turn and corner appears deliberate, a reflection of strategic planning and deep understanding of both the landscape and military architecture. The sheer effort required to transport and fit these stones, often weighing several tons, up the rugged slopes is staggering. As you walk along the walls, the forest around you is alive with the whispers of the past. The castle was built during the Sasanian era, around the 10th to 13th century, yet it feels older, timeless. Moss clings to the stones, and in places, roots have intertwined with the masonry, but the walls remain solid, resisting centuries of weather and decay. Every stone seems to hold a story of labor, strategy, and survival in a harsh yet beautiful environment. The design of Rudkan Castle reveals a sophisticated understanding of defense. The walls feature battlements, watchtowers, and fortified gates, carefully placed to provide maximum advantage over potential invaders. The stones were not merely stacked, they were fitted to absorb impact, to create barriers difficult to scale or breach. Modern engineers marvel at the ingenuity of these ancient builders, noting how the walls have withstood not only time, but the natural forces of erosion, landslides, and earthquakes. Beyond the walls themselves, the castle complex includes towers and interior structures, now mostly ruins, but their foundations hint at a community capable of sustaining itself in isolation, a fortress that could serve as both a stronghold and a refuge. The placement of the towers and gates indicates careful planning, likely to control movement within the fortress while maximizing defensive coverage of the surrounding terrain. One of the most striking features of Rudkan Castle is its integration with the natural landscape. The builders did not attempt to dominate the mountain, they adapted to it. Stones were quarried nearby, and their irregular shapes allowed the walls to blend seamlessly into the ridges. The fortress seems alive, rising organically from the earth, yet every stone is a testament to deliberate human intention. Imagine the laborers, hundreds of them, climbing these slopes day after day, hauling stones, chiseling them into place, enduring wind, rain, and cold. Each stone placed was a calculated decision, each section of wall a small victory of engineering over gravity. And yet, despite the difficulty, the fortress was completed, functional and durable, an enduring monument to human determination and ingenuity. The purpose of Rudkan Castle was clear: defense, but it is the scale and durability that continue to fascinate modern observers. While other castles from the same era may have crumbled, Rudkan's walls remain largely intact. Its strategic location, high on a mountain ridge, provided a panoramic view of approaching threats and ensured that the fortress could resist sieges. Some historians speculate that the castle was never conquered, its design too formidable, its builders too clever. Walking along these walls today, one feels a profound connection to the past. The stones seem to whisper, inviting you to imagine the lives of those who built and defended this fortress. What conversations took place here? What plans were devised? What fears and triumphs echoed through these corridors of stone? Each wall, each tower, and each stairway is a silent witness to centuries of human ingenuity and resilience. Rudkan Castle's walls are more than just fortifications. They are a monument to endurance, strategy, and adaptation. They remind us that ancient people were capable of incredible feats of engineering, even in challenging terrains. The craftsmanship, the foresight, and the sheer labor involved make it clear these were not casual constructions. They were carefully planned, meticulously executed, and designed to last for generations. Today, the castle draws visitors from around the world, not just for its history, but for the sense of wonder it evokes. Standing on the ridges, looking down at the walls snaking through the forest, one cannot help but marvel at the ingenuity and determination of the people who built this fortress. Every stone, every curve, every corner tells a story of survival, of strategy, and of human achievement in harmony with nature. The Rudkon Castle stone walls are more than ancient fortifications. They are reminders of what humans can achieve, even with limited technology, when vision, strategy, and labor converge. They are silent, enduring witnesses to history, and they leave anyone who visits with a sense of awe and respect for the past. As the wind brushes against your face and the forest hums softly around you, the walls of Rudkon Castle stand tall, silent yet eloquent. They are a monument to imagination turned into stone, a giant puzzle left for future generations to admire and wonder at. And in that silence, you begin to understand. Human history is not just a collection of dates and events, it is written in stone, in sweat, and in the enduring ambition of those who came before us. The Takeo Pyramid, Cambodia's forgotten megastructure. Deep in the heart of Cambodia, hidden among the dense forests of the Angkor region, stands the Takeo Pyramid, a structure both magnificent and mysterious. Unlike the famous Angkor Wat, Takeo remains unfinished, yet its silent stone terraces and looming presence inspire awe and curiosity. Rising high into the sky, the pyramid seems to challenge the very limits of what humans could achieve more than 1,000 years ago. Takeo was constructed during the reign of King Jayavarman V, around the 10th century. Its purpose is still debated among historians, but most agree that it was intended as a temple to honor the Hindu god Shiva. The pyramid is enormous. 10 terraces rise one above the other, built from massive sandstone blocks, each carefully shaped and fitted. Despite its unfinished state, the grandeur is palpable. From the base to the summit, the sheer scale of the structure is humbling, a testament to the ambition and vision of the Khmer builders. Walking among the terraces, you notice the precision of the stonework. The blocks, some weighing several tons, were transported across challenging terrain without the aid of modern machinery. The edges are straight, the corners sharp, and though the pyramid was never completed, the intended design is unmistakable. Stairs lead up steeply, and platforms rise like steps toward the sky, inviting both worshippers and modern visitors to imagine what it must have been like when the temple was in use. One of the most fascinating aspects of Takeo is its unfinished nature. Historians and archaeologists debate why the construction halted. Some suggest it was due to the sudden death of King Jayavarman V, while others speculate that the site was cursed, plagued by lightning strikes that frequently hit the stone terraces during storms. Locals still speak of these events with awe and reverence, and walking the terraces during a rainstorm, it's easy to sense the raw energy that must have accompanied such occurrences centuries ago. The pyramid's design is remarkably sophisticated. Its terraces rise steeply, creating a staggered effect, almost like a step pyramid, yet its proportions reflect a deep understanding of geometry and balance. The central axis is perfectly aligned, likely following astronomical or religious principles. The Khmer architects seemed intent on creating not just a temple, but a structure that reached toward the heavens, connecting earth and sky, humanity and divinity. Imagine the builders working tirelessly in the scorching Cambodian sun, hauling stones, shaping blocks, and positioning them with incredible precision. There were no cranes, no trucks, no power tools, only manpower, ingenuity, and sheer determination. And yet the structure endured. Even unfinished, the pyramid withstands centuries of weather, tropical storms, and encroaching forest, a silent witness to human ambition and the passage of time. Takeo's walls are adorned with the beginnings of carvings, intricate patterns that hint at the detailed bas-reliefs that were never completed. These early carvings give us a glimpse into Khmer artistic sensibilities, their devotion, and their ability to blend monumental architecture with spiritual symbolism. Every unfinished edge, every raw stone, tells a story of what could have been, a grand temple reaching its intended glory, yet frozen in time, incomplete, and still magnificent. The pyramid's location also adds to its enigmatic aura. Perched on a small hill, it dominates the surrounding landscape. From the summit, one can see the dense forest stretching endlessly, broken occasionally by other temples or rivers. Yet Takeo stands alone, silent and solitary. It is both a part of the Angkor complex and distinctly separate, almost as if it were meant to be a private ascent, a sacred journey upward, accessible only to those brave enough to climb its steep steps. Despite its unfinished state, Takeo has a presence that commands respect. The pyramid seems alive in some way, resonating with the energy of the people who built it, the rituals that were once intended to take place on its terraces, and the centuries of storms and sun that have battered its stone. There is a timelessness here, a quiet power that invites reflection, meditation, and wonder. Modern visitors often find themselves pausing midway up the terraces, staring at the vast forests, imagining what it must have been like for priests, workers, and kings who once moved along these stones. Some say that the pyramid exudes a subtle sense of mystery, as if the unfinished walls themselves are holding secrets, waiting for someone to uncover them. The structure's incompleteness, paradoxically, adds to its allure. It is a monument to both human ambition and human limitation, a reminder that even the greatest projects can remain unfinished, yet still inspire awe. The Takeo Pyramid also poses questions about technology and logistics. How did the Khmer builders transport and precisely place such massive stones in a dense forest with uneven terrain? How did they maintain structural integrity for a building so high and steep? The answers are partly lost to history, leaving room for speculation, imagination, and admiration for the ingenuity required to create such a megastructure. Even today, the pyramid draws archaeologists, historians, and travelers from around the world. Its silent terraces invite exploration, contemplation, and curiosity. Standing at the base, looking upward, one feels both small and connected to the people who built it, to the culture that inspired it, and to the mysteries of human potential. Each terrace climbed, each stone touched, deepens the connection to history, and the realization that some achievements transcend time, leaving a legacy that speaks across centuries. The Takeo Pyramid is more than just stone. It is ambition carved into the earth, devotion solidified in sandstone, and mystery suspended in time. Its unfinished terraces, massive blocks, and haunting presence remind us that human aspiration has always reached beyond what is immediately achievable, that the desire to touch the heavens, to leave a mark on the world, is as old as civilization itself. And so, as the sun sets behind the forest, and shadows stretch across the steep steps, the Takeo Pyramid stands silent, incomplete, yet undeniably magnificent. It invites you to pause, to imagine, and perhaps to wonder what other secrets of human ingenuity are hidden, unfinished, and waiting to be discovered. The Nan Madol Ruins, Micronesia's lost stone city. Far out in the remote Pacific, on the island of Pohnpei in Micronesia, lies a place that seems almost impossible, a city built on water, a labyrinth of massive stone walls and canals, known as Nan Madol. Walking among these ruins, you feel as though time itself has slowed, letting you wander through a world that is part dream, part memory, and entirely mysterious. Nan Madol consists of nearly 100 small artificial islands, constructed from huge basalt stones, some weighing up to 50 tons. These stones were placed with precision along a network of canals, earning the site its nickname, the Venice of the Pacific. What is astounding is not just the scale, but the ambition behind it. How could a civilization, thousands of years ago, without cranes, trucks, or modern engineering knowledge, move stones this massive and arrange them so meticulously over water? The city was the ceremonial and political center of the Saudadler dynasty, which ruled Pohnpei for centuries. According to legends, the Saudadlers were semi-divine rulers, and Nan Madol was built as their seat of power. The canals divided the city into districts, residential, religious, and administrative, and each artificial island served a specific purpose. Stone tombs, palaces, and temples rose on these platforms, yet today they appear as silent sentinels, their secrets hidden under moss, shadow, and the slow erosion of centuries. Walking along the narrow causeways that connect the islands, you sense the sheer difficulty of construction. The basalt columns were not just quarried, they were transported, sometimes over great distances, then carefully stacked to form walls up to 12 meters high. The level of precision in placement, the way each stone interlocks, defies modern assumptions about prehistoric engineering. It's as though the builders had knowledge we can scarcely comprehend today, a mastery of physics and logistics that leaves even modern engineers puzzled. The mystery deepens when you consider the environment. Pohnpei is tropical, humid, and often lashed by typhoons. Building an entire city on water under these conditions would be difficult enough today, let alone a millennium ago. Yet Nan Madol stands, almost entirely intact, a testament to human ingenuity, ambition, and perhaps a touch of ingenuity that has since been lost to history. Some archaeologists believe that Nan Madol was constructed as early as the 8th century CE, though exact dates remain debated. The methods of construction are equally mysterious. Legends suggest that sorcery and supernatural assistance helped move the massive stones. Modern theories propose log rollers, rafts, and clever engineering techniques, but even these explanations strain credibility when you see the scale of the structures firsthand. Many of the ruins were clearly ceremonial, megalithic tombs, some towering above the water, were reserved for elite rulers, and their construction alone would have required incredible planning and labor. Some islands housed palaces with stone walls that are so finely cut and aligned that they appear almost machine-made. Others were religious centers, and some were burial sites that still evoke a sense of reverence and quiet awe. What makes Nan Madol particularly eerie is the silence. Unlike other ancient cities that are marked by inscriptions, artwork, or written records, Nan Madol offers few clues. The stones themselves are the only witnesses to its past glory. You walk through corridors of basalt walls, imagining the lives of those who lived there, their rituals, their ceremonies, their daily struggles. The whispers of history are almost audible if you listen closely. The splash of water against stone, the echo of footsteps that have long since vanished, the memories embedded in every carefully stacked block. Despite its isolation, Nan Madol's influence is clear. Its design reflects a sophisticated understanding of urban planning, water management, and construction that rivals many better-known ancient civilizations. The way the city is divided, the orientation of structures, and the adaptation to tides and storms all suggest that the builders were incredibly attuned to their environment. They did not merely construct buildings, they shaped an entire island ecosystem, turning the natural landscape into a human masterpiece. As night falls over the ruins, the city takes on a ghostly quality. Shadows stretch across the causeways, the water reflects the moonlight, and you can almost see the city as it once was, bustling with life, ceremony, and hierarchy. The massive basalt walls seem to whisper questions to the visitor. Who built this place? How did they accomplish such feats? And why, after centuries of human occupation, did the city fall into abandonment? Some historians suggest that Nan Madol was overthrown by social upheaval. The central Saudeleur rulers were eventually toppled by local uprisings, leaving the city to sink into myth and obscurity. Others hint at environmental pressures, rising waters, shifts in trade routes, or resource scarcity could have made maintenance impossible. Today, the city remains a monument to ambition, a reminder that human ingenuity often surpasses our expectations, yet even the greatest achievements can succumb to time, nature, and change. Walking along the canals, it's impossible not to feel a sense of wonder. The massive stones, the intricate layout, the silent majesty, all of it evokes awe and curiosity. Nan Madol is not just an archaeological site, it is a story frozen in stone, a mystery that invites reflection, imagination, and respect for a civilization that achieved the extraordinary without the tools or technology we take for granted today. Even as the waves lap against the basalt walls and the wind rustles through the palms, Nan Madol holds its secrets tightly, and perhaps that is part of its enduring magic. It is a city that asks questions rather than giving answers, a puzzle of ambition, mystery, and human achievement that continues to fascinate anyone who steps upon its stone causeways. And so Nan Madol remains, a lost city of giants and water, a testament to human courage, vision, and mystery. For those who wander among its ruins, it is impossible not to be humbled, to marvel, and to wonder what other secrets lie hidden in the scattered islands of the past, waiting to be discovered. The Sechin Basho complex, Peru's giant stone temples. In the remote desert of northern Peru, where the sun stretches endlessly over arid plains, lies a place that seems almost too incredible to be real. This is Sechin Basho, a sprawling complex of stone temples and monumental carvings, hidden for millennia beneath layers of earth and sand. Unlike the more famous Peruvian sites, Sechin Basho remains largely mysterious, a silent witness to a civilization that achieved astonishing feats of engineering and artistry long before most of the world had settled into agriculture. Walking through the site today, you see enormous stone platforms, some measuring over 200 meters in length, aligned in a way that suggests precise planning. Massive walls rise from the desert floor, carved with intricate reliefs depicting warriors, rulers, and ritual scenes. Each stone seems carefully selected, shaped, and placed with a level of craftsmanship that challenges modern understanding of prehistoric construction. You can almost imagine the hands of those ancient builders, lifting, carving, and positioning stones in scorching heat, day after day, decade after decade. Sechin Basho is remarkable not just for its scale, but for its age. Some parts of the complex date back as far as 3500 BCE, making it one of the oldest monumental constructions in the Americas. That means these massive temples were built more than 1,000 years before the pyramids of Egypt were completed. And yet they show a sophistication, a vision, and a mastery of stonework that continues to astonish archaeologists today. As you walk closer, the reliefs etched into the walls capture your attention. Figures of warriors with fierce expressions, ceremonial staffs, and ritualistic symbols stare out across the centuries. The carvings suggest a society that was deeply ritualistic, hierarchical, and possibly embroiled in conflicts that shaped their world. Yet despite this, much about Sechin Basho remains unknown. Who were these people? How did they transport and shape such enormous stones? And why did such a complex vanish, leaving so few traces of daily life, tools, or written records? The site is not just a collection of temples, but a carefully arranged complex of platforms, plazas, and monumental walls. The alignment of structures suggests an understanding of astronomy, with certain walls oriented to track the sun's movements across the sky. Some researchers propose that these alignments were used to mark ceremonial events or agricultural cycles, allowing the people of Sechin Basho to synchronize their lives with the natural world around them. One of the most striking aspects is the sheer size and weight of the stones. Many of the basalt blocks weigh several tons, yet they are stacked with remarkable precision. There are no signs of mortar, yet the walls have endured millennia of earthquakes, floods, and erosion. How did a civilization without modern cranes, trucks, or even the wheel manage such feats? Some theories suggest ingenious use of ramps, levers, and sheer human labor, but even that stretches the limits of what seems plausible. The Sechin Baho complex was clearly a ceremonial and political center. Archaeologists believe that the massive temples and walls were built to honor rulers and deities, to impress subjects and rivals, and to serve as a focal point for community life. The carvings depicting warriors suggest that power and ritual were closely intertwined, and that this was a society that celebrated strength, hierarchy, and religious devotion. Yet, despite the grandeur, there is also an unsettling mystery. Unlike other ancient cities, Sechin Baho lacks clear domestic areas, suggesting that it was not a typical urban settlement. It was a center of ceremony and power, rather than daily life, a monumental stage for events that shaped the beliefs, politics, and social structures of its time. Walking among the ruins today, the absence of ordinary artifacts, pottery, tools, or dwellings makes the scale and purpose of the construction even more baffling. Over time, Sechin Baho was buried by sand and sediment, preserving it but also hiding it from the world. Modern excavations beginning in the 20th century have revealed only a fraction of the complex, leaving much still unknown. Each new discovery adds to the intrigue rather than resolving it. Some walls are decorated with reliefs of human figures, some with abstract symbols, and some with scenes that seem almost otherworldly in their design. These carvings, combined with the massive scale of construction, give the complex an aura of timelessness, as if the builders were reaching not just for physical height, but for something beyond, something eternal. The more you study Sechin Baho, the more you appreciate the vision and ambition of its creators. They were a people capable of organizing vast amounts of labor, managing complex construction projects, and embedding their beliefs and knowledge into stone, and yet so little about them survives. No written records, no clear names, no accounts of their civilization, just stone, silence, and a story etched into the earth itself. Today, as the desert sun sets and shadows stretch across the ancient platforms, the site takes on a haunting beauty. The reliefs seem to come alive in the fading light, the walls hum with echoes of the past, and you can almost hear the voices of those long gone, whispering their mysteries across time. Sechin Baho is not just a place to observe. It's a place to reflect, wonder, and imagine. It reminds us that human ambition, creativity, and devotion have always been capable of the extraordinary, and that some mysteries, like the identity of its builders, the techniques they used, and the meaning behind their carvings, may never be fully explained, leaving us with awe, curiosity, and a quiet sense of humility. So when you think of the great ancient civilizations, remember Sechin Baho, a city of stone, a temple of mystery, and a monument to human ingenuity that continues to defy understanding, inviting every visitor to ponder, imagine, and dream. The Colossi of Memnon, Egypt's twin giants of stone. In the heart of Egypt's vast Nile Valley, where the desert stretches endlessly and the heat shimmers off the sand, stand two monumental statues that have quietly fascinated travelers for over 3,000 years. These are the Colossi of Memnon, twin statues carved from single blocks of stone, each standing over 18 meters tall, silently guarding the landscape as if keeping watch over centuries of human history. The Colossi were built around 1350 BCE, during the reign of Pharaoh Amenhotep III, and were originally part of a grand mortuary temple dedicated to him. Today, only the statues remain, towering over the ruins, yet even in their solitude, they convey a sense of power and awe that has captured imaginations for millennia. From the moment you approach them, there is a weight to their presence, a feeling that these are not merely statues, but monumental markers of ambition, devotion, and artistry that surpass anything most of us can imagine. Each statue depicts Amenhotep III seated, his hands resting on his knees, his gaze directed east toward the rising sun. They are carved from quarried sandstone, transported from quarries miles away, shaped with extraordinary precision, and placed on massive stone pedestals that elevate them even further. The logistics alone boggle the mind. How did ancient Egyptians move these enormous stones, some weighing over 700 tons each, without modern machinery? How did they ensure they remained upright for thousands of years, through earthquakes, floods, and shifting sands? The Colossi of Memnon are not only remarkable for their size and engineering, they are shrouded in mystery and legend. In ancient times, one of the statues became famous for an unusual phenomenon. At dawn it was said to sing. Travelers described hearing a musical sound, a kind of harmonic resonance that seemed to emanate from the stone itself as the sun's rays struck it. This curious event gave the statue its name, Memnon, after a mythical Ethiopian king from Greek legend. Scientists today believe the sounds were likely caused by temperature changes and the expansion of cracks in the stone, yet the legend adds a layer of mystique that has enchanted generations. Beyond the singing, there are other intriguing aspects. The statues were originally painted and adorned with inscriptions celebrating the pharaoh's victories and divine status. Over time, most of these details have worn away, leaving only faint traces. Standing before them now, you are left with a mixture of grandeur and melancholy. Grandeur in their sheer scale, and melancholy in the knowledge that most of what once surrounded them has been lost to history. The colossi also tell a story of ancient Egyptian vision and engineering. Each stone block was carefully carved, transported, and positioned. The alignment of the statues, facing east, connects them with the sun god Ra, symbolizing divine protection and eternal vigilance. It is a reminder that the Egyptians saw their rulers as intermediaries between the gods and humanity, and monumental architecture was their way of cementing that connection in stone. Walking around the statues, you notice the intricacies of their features. The broad shoulders, the precise facial contours, the remnants of inscriptions along the base, all testify to a civilization that combined artistry, mathematics, and devotion in ways that still amaze modern observers. Even the weathering of the stones tells a story. Centuries of sun, wind, and occasional flooding have left marks, but the colossi remain remarkably intact, a testament to the durability and foresight of their creators. The colossi of Memnon are also a window into lost history. The mortuary temple they once guarded was vast, likely one of the largest in Egypt, yet today only fragments remain. Archaeologists have unearthed foundations, pylons, and scattered statues, but the full scale and appearance of the temple remain a subject of speculation. This adds to the sense of mystery. What exactly did the temple look like? How did the statues fit into the larger ceremonial landscape? And why, despite the best efforts of archaeologists, does so much remain unknown? For travelers and historians alike, the colossi evoke curiosity and wonder. There is a sense of timelessness here, a feeling that these statues have witnessed the rise and fall of civilizations, the shifting of dynasties, and the passage of countless generations. Standing beneath their shadow, you can almost hear whispers of the past, the chants of priests, the footsteps of workers, the songs of travelers amazed by the colossal guardians. What continues to captivate people is not just the size or age of the statues, but their ability to inspire imagination. How did ancient engineers calculate the placement of stones weighing hundreds of tons? How did they ensure stability over millennia without modern tools? And why did one statue sing at dawn, creating a legend that would cross cultures and continents? Even today, the colossi of Memnon remain a silent challenge. They remind us of the ingenuity of ancient civilizations, their devotion to their rulers and gods, and the enduring human desire to create something that lasts beyond a lifetime. In their silent grandeur, they invite us to imagine the past, to wonder about lost knowledge, and to appreciate the mysteries that still linger among the sands of Egypt. As the sun sets over the Nile, the statues cast long shadows across the desert floor, and the soft wind carries the faint scent of history. The colossi of Memnon are not just stone, they are monuments to human ambition, artistry, and mystery, standing patiently for anyone willing to pause, reflect, and listen to the echoes of a civilization that continues to fascinate the world. And if this story of the twin giants has captured your imagination, don't forget to subscribe so you can join us on the next journey into the most astounding and unsolved mysteries of the ancient world. Usomacinta jaguar statue, Mexico's enormous Mayan guardian. Deep within the dense, humid jungles along the Usomacinta River in southern Mexico lies a discovery that has both amazed and puzzled archaeologists for decades. The Usomacinta jaguar statue, a massive stone sculpture that towers over the surrounding landscape, its presence both commanding and mysterious. Standing silently among the thick foliage, this statue is more than a work of art. It is a guardian, a sentinel of a civilization that flourished long before modern records. The statue depicts a jaguar, revered in Mayan culture as a symbol of power, night, and the spiritual world. The jaguar was considered a bridge between realms, capable of moving effortlessly between life and death, day and night, the earthly and the divine. Its depiction in stone, scaled far beyond life size, speaks to the extraordinary reverence the Mayans had for this creature. As you approach the statue, it feels almost alive. Its carved muscles, sharp claws, and intense gaze convey a presence that is at once both intimidating and protective. What astonishes researchers the most is not only the scale of the statue, several meters high, but the precision and craftsmanship involved. Carved from a single massive block of stone, its details remain astonishingly clear, even after centuries of exposure to the tropical climate. The artisans who created it achieved a level of mastery that modern stoneworkers still find impressive. How did they transport such a heavy piece? How did they carve it with such precision without metal tools capable of cutting stone this hard? These questions linger, unanswerable, adding layers of mystery to an already enigmatic monument. The location of the statue also adds to its intrigue. Nestled on the banks of the Usumacinta River, it may have served as a territorial marker or a ceremonial symbol, visible from both water and land. Some researchers believe the statue functioned as part of a larger complex, perhaps guarding temples or plazas, signaling the might and spiritual authority of the city it represented. Yet today, much of the surrounding structures have been lost to the jungle, leaving only the colossal jaguar and fragments of Mayan stonework to whisper their secrets. The jaguar's symbolism goes even deeper. In Mayan mythology, it is associated with the underworld, with the mysteries of the night and the unseen forces that guide human destiny. Perhaps this statue was meant to intimidate enemies, to impress visiting dignitaries, or to act as a spiritual intermediary. Standing before it, you can almost imagine the ceremonies that might have taken place. Priests invoking the jaguar's power, offerings laid at its base, chants echoing through the dense foliage. The stillness of the jungle now only emphasizes the life and energy that once surrounded this magnificent guardian. Its sheer size and strategic placement reveal that the Usumacinta jaguar statue was not merely decorative. It is a statement of authority, a proclamation that this city, this river, and this jungle were under the watchful eyes of both men and gods. The choice of stone itself is fascinating. The sculptors selected a massive block that would endure the tropical elements, ensuring the jaguar's presence for generations to come, and endure it has. Despite centuries of rain, humidity, and vegetation slowly reclaiming the area, the statue remains a commanding figure, a testament to both the Mayan civilization's skill and its spiritual imagination. One of the most captivating aspects of this statue is its ability to inspire awe even today. Scholars, explorers, and tourists alike often describe a strange sensation of being watched, as though the jaguar is alive, guarding its territory as it did centuries ago. This feeling is heightened by the dense canopy, the sounds of the river, and the sense of isolation in the remote jungle. It is a reminder that ancient civilizations designed their monuments not just to impress or to record, but to interact with the environment and the human psyche, shaping how people felt and moved within their sacred spaces. Beyond its artistry, the Usumacinta jaguar statue raises important questions about the technological and logistical capabilities of the Mayans. The scale of the sculpture, the precision of the carving, and the difficulty of transporting such a massive stone through thick jungle terrain are challenges that modern engineers would struggle to replicate. Yet the Mayans did it, centuries ago, relying on ingenuity, coordination, and sheer human effort. It is a testament to their understanding of stone, labor, and spatial planning. The surrounding area offers additional mysteries. Archaeologists have found remnants of platforms, walls, and ceremonial plazas nearby, suggesting that the jaguar may have been part of a larger ritual landscape. However, the exact function of this site, and how the jaguar fit into it, remains unknown. Was it meant to intimidate, to bless, to protect, or all three? Perhaps the answer is lost, hidden beneath layers of soil, vegetation, and time itself. Yet for all its mysteries, the Usumacinta jaguar statue continues to captivate imagination. It is more than a stone carving, it is a story, a window into a civilization that understood the power of symbols, the weight of stone, and the connection between nature, humans, and the divine. To stand before it is to step into a world where every carved line, every shadow, and every gaze carries meaning, inviting reflection, curiosity, and wonder. As the sun dips behind the jungle canopy and the river glimmers in the fading light, the jaguar remains, silent, massive, majestic, watching, and perhaps in its stillness, it whispers the secrets of an ancient world that modern eyes are only beginning to glimpse. If the story of the Usumacinta jaguar has sparked your curiosity, make sure to subscribe. There are more giant mysteries, forgotten civilizations, and colossal wonders waiting to be explored, and this journey into the ancient world has only just begun. The Sphinx of Mount Caucasus, Russia's stone colossus. High in the rugged peaks of the Caucasus Mountains in Russia, amidst steep cliffs and cold, windswept plateaus, stands a natural wonder that has long intrigued explorers and historians alike. The Sphinx of Mount Caucasus. At first glance, it appears to be a simple outcrop of stone, shaped by millennia of erosion. Yet as you step closer, the contours of the rock begin to suggest something far more intentional, a colossal figure that mirrors the form of a human face, gazing across the valleys below with a quiet, enigmatic presence. Unlike the more famous Sphinx of Giza, this mountain colossus is carved not by a single civilization, but sculpted over eons by nature and perhaps human hands, in ways that remain uncertain. The scale is staggering. From its base to its summit, the formation stretches for tens of meters, dwarfing anyone who approaches it. Standing there, surrounded by the crisp mountain air, it is impossible not to feel the weight of time pressing down, as if the Sphinx has been silently observing humanity for countless generations. What makes the Mount Caucasus Sphinx truly fascinating is the mystery of its origin. Some researchers insist it is purely a natural geological formation, the product of wind, ice, and erosion acting over millions of years on limestone cliffs. Others point to the sharp lines of the face, the symmetry of its features, and the apparent intentionality in its proportions, suggesting that ancient peoples may have recognized the shape and enhanced it, or even carved it deliberately. Local legends speak of ancient giants and forgotten kings who once ruled these mountains, leaving behind markers and monuments to signify power and presence. Travelers and explorers have reported strange sensations while near the Sphinx, a feeling of being observed, a subtle unease, and an inexplicable pull toward the figure. Perhaps it is the scale, perhaps it is the alignment with the sun at certain times of the year, or perhaps it is something deeper, something our modern understanding cannot fully grasp. The environment itself adds layers to the mystery. Thick forests cloak the lower slopes, while icy winds sweep the peaks. Reaching the Sphinx is a journey in itself. Treacherous paths, hidden ravines, and sudden drops make the approach feel sacred, almost ritualistic. Those who have climbed these mountains describe a strange combination of awe and fear, a humbling reminder of how small we are in the face of both nature and history. Geologists have studied the rock closely. The limestone is incredibly hard, resistant to weathering, yet certain fissures and cracks suggest slow, deliberate shaping. Was it purely coincidence that erosion formed a semblance of a human face, or did human hands recognize the form and refine it? Some scholars draw parallels to other natural sphinxes around the world, from Italy to Japan, noting a recurring human fascination with anthropomorphic forms in the landscape. The Mount Caucasus Sphinx also aligns intriguingly with nearby natural landmarks. Valleys, rivers, and cliffs converge in ways that suggest intentional placement or, at the very least, an awareness of its surroundings. Some theories propose that it may have served as a navigational marker for ancient travelers, or even as a site of ritual observation, where people would gather to watch celestial events, paying homage to gods, ancestors, or the mountain spirits themselves. Over centuries, explorers have documented its presence, often noting a subtle change in perception depending on the light. At dawn, shadows create the illusion of depth and expression, the face seeming almost alive. By noon, it flattens into an imposing stone mass. By twilight, the Sphinx seems to watch the fading sun, a silent witness to the passage of time. Perhaps the most unsettling aspect is the absence of direct historical records. Unlike the pyramids or dolmens, no texts, carvings, or artifacts definitively link humans to the creation of this formation. Its scale and precision, if even partially artificial, remain beyond the grasp of conventional explanations, leaving open the tantalizing possibility that ancient people in the Caucasus possessed skills, beliefs, or technologies that have been lost to time. Visiting the Sphinx today is both humbling and inspiring. The mountain air, the crunch of gravel underfoot, the distant roar of waterfalls, it all merges into a meditative experience. You can imagine ancient peoples making the pilgrimage, bringing offerings, or simply marveling at the figure that dominates their landscape. It is easy to see why this Sphinx has inspired stories, myths, and endless speculation. It occupies the space between nature and human imagination, a colossus of mystery, quietly asserting its presence over the ages. As night falls, the surrounding peaks glow faintly under the moonlight, casting long shadows. The Sphinx remains, silent and eternal. Its gaze invites contemplation, curiosity, and perhaps a touch of wonder. It is a reminder that even in remote corners of the world, giant structures crafted by nature, human hands, or a combination of both, hold secrets waiting for those patient enough to look, to listen, and to imagine. If this story of the Mount Caucasus Sphinx captured your imagination, make sure to subscribe. There are more giant ancient structures, impossible monuments, and mysteries carved in stone waiting to be discovered, and this journey through the ancient world is far from over. The Lion of Babylon, Mesopotamia's stone guardian. Amidst the ancient ruins of Babylon, where history whispers through every crumbling brick, there stands a figure that has fascinated travelers and scholars for millennia, the Lion of Babylon. This colossal statue, carved from a single block of black basalt, embodies both the might of a civilization and the artistry of its people. Its sheer presence is commanding, a silent guardian watching over the ruins of a city that once thrived on the banks of the Euphrates. The lion itself is more than a sculpture, it is a symbol. In Mesopotamian culture, lions represented strength, power, and protection. This particular lion, crouched as if ready to spring, conveys both grace and menace. Its mane, detailed and flowing, seems almost alive despite being carved from cold stone. The claws, the teeth, the powerful muscles, all speak to a civilization that sought to capture the essence of nature's most formidable predator. Walking around the statue, one can't help but feel a sense of awe. The proportions are immense. Every angle has been considered. Even after thousands of years of exposure to sun, wind, and occasional floods, the lion retains an imposing dignity. It is as if it still guards Babylon, waiting silently for the city to rise again from the sands. What makes the Lion of Babylon truly remarkable is how it was created. Scholars estimate that the statue dates back to around 600 BCE, during the reign of King Nebuchadnezzar II. The sculptors of that era had to work without modern tools or machinery, yet they managed to carve intricate details into solid basalt, a rock harder than most metal tools available at the time. The techniques used remain a subject of speculation. Did they use copper chisels with sand abrasion, or perhaps tools lost to history? The precision and scale of the work are still astonishing to modern eyes. Beyond its craftsmanship, the lion carries cultural and religious significance. It is believed to have been associated with the goddess Ishtar, a deity of love and war. Lions were her sacred animals, representing her fierce and protective nature. The statue may have been placed strategically to guard a temple or palace, an eternal sentinel invoking divine protection over the city and its people. The location of the lion adds another layer of mystery. Babylon was a city of wonders, renowned for its hanging gardens, massive walls, and sprawling palaces. The lion, positioned near the city's main thoroughfare, or perhaps a ceremonial space, would have been a symbol of authority and spiritual power. Imagine walking past it thousands of years ago, hearing the sounds of the city, the chatter of merchants, the footsteps of soldiers, and the distant chants of priests. The lion would have been a silent, yet ever-present reminder of power and divine favor. Over the centuries, the Lion of Babylon has endured invasions, conquests, and natural erosion. Yet it stands, a testament to human creativity, ambition, and reverence. Modern researchers marvel not only at its size and craftsmanship, but also at the story it tells. A story of a civilization that sought to communicate strength and divinity in stone, to immortalize their beliefs, and to leave a mark that time could not erase. One cannot ignore the emotional impact of standing before the lion today. Its eyes, though chipped and weathered, seem to follow you, and its posture conveys an alert readiness. It is a reminder that history is not just dates and facts. It is lived experience, carved in stone and carried through generations. There is a quiet lesson here about endurance, about human aspiration, and about the desire to leave something behind that speaks to the future. The Lion of Babylon continues to inspire imagination. Archaeologists and historians debate its exact origins, the methods used to carve it, and its intended purpose. Yet despite centuries of study, it still retains an aura of mystery. Who were the sculptors who worked tirelessly to bring it to life? How did they transport such a massive stone to its final location? And why did they choose this particular pose, capturing both power and vigilance so perfectly? Standing in the presence of the lion, one feels both humbled and connected. It is a bridge between the ancient world and our own, a reminder that humans have always sought to understand power, nature, and the divine. Its story is not only about a lion carved in stone, but also about a civilization's yearning to make their mark on the world, to communicate with eternity. Even today, the Lion of Babylon serves as a magnet for curiosity. Visitors from around the globe come to witness its grandeur, to touch the surface worn smooth by centuries, and to ponder the secrets it holds. It challenges us to think about the ingenuity of ancient people, their artistry, and their determination to create symbols that endure long after empires fall. As the sun sets over the ruins, casting long shadows across the city, the lion remains steadfast. Its story, like the stones of Babylon itself, is layered, complex, and captivating. And though much has been discovered, there is still so much left to imagine, to question, and to explore. If this journey into Mesopotamia's past has intrigued you, don't forget to subscribe. There are countless more lost wonders, impossible structures, and ancient mysteries waiting to be explored, each one carrying its own story, waiting quietly for those who are curious enough to listen. The Colossus of Rhodes, ancient Greek wonder reconstruction. Imagine standing on the sun-baked harbor of Rhodes, the gentle waves of the Aegean lapping at your feet. And there, towering above everything, is a figure so enormous it seems almost unreal. A giant of bronze, a sentinel of the ancient world, the Colossus of Rhodes. Even today, over 2 millennia later, the idea of this statue evokes awe and curiosity. What was it like to see the Colossus in its original glory? How did ancient engineers and artisans manage to construct such a massive monument with the technology of their time? Let's step slowly into this story, piece by piece, as if the past itself were whispering to us. The Colossus was built around 292 BCE, following Rhodes' victory over the invading forces of Demetrius I of Macedon. It wasn't just a statue, it was a symbol, a monumental declaration of freedom, resilience, and pride. Standing approximately 33 meters high, it dwarfed the ships in the harbor and cast its gaze across the horizon, greeting travelers and challenging enemies alike. Imagine its bronze surface, shining under the Mediterranean sun, gleaming and warm, reflecting the city's prosperity. But how did they create something so monumental? Ancient records hint at ingenious engineering techniques, though many details remain lost to time. The statue was constructed using bronze plates over an iron framework, supported by stone foundations. Workers heated bronze to mold each section, hammered it into place, and carefully attached it to create the colossal figure. Every limb, every muscle, had to be proportioned to scale, yet strong enough to withstand the elements. The level of coordination, planning, and skill required is staggering. The Colossus stood as a guardian of the harbor, an awe-inspiring emblem of human ambition. Ships entering roads would have passed between its legs, or so some later reconstructions imagine, though historians debate whether this was literally possible. The sheer size of the statue made it visible for miles, a beacon of the city's wealth and power. Travelers arriving by sea must have felt a mixture of admiration, fear, and amazement. And now imagine the sound of bronze gently ringing in the wind, as if the statue itself were alive, humming a quiet tune of the ages. Yet the Colossus's life was not long. Around 226 BCE, only about 54 years after its completion, an earthquake struck Rhodes. The statue collapsed, shattering into enormous pieces, lying in ruins for centuries. And yet it was not forgotten. Ancient writers described its grandeur, inspiring generations, and later even medieval engineers marveled at its scale. The remains were so massive that people considered them impossible to move, and for hundreds of years, it was a site of pilgrimage, awe, and legend. Even in reconstruction, questions abound. How exactly did the Rhodians transport and assemble bronze sheets of such size? How did they maintain structural stability, given the winds and seismic activity? Modern engineers have recreated models in simulations, and even today, replicating a statue of this magnitude without contemporary cranes or welding technology seems nearly impossible. The Colossus remains not just a historical wonder, but a puzzle, an eternal riddle of human ambition and ingenuity. But beyond the technical marvel lies the story it told. The Colossus symbolized resilience after war, the triumph of a small island city-state against mighty forces. It embodied hope, pride, and unity. Every detail, from the tilt of the head to the stance of the legs, conveyed authority and vigilance. It wasn't merely a statue, it was a declaration, etched into bronze and set against the endless sea. Imagine standing today, reconstructing it in your mind, the sun glinting off bronze, the wind brushing your face, the shadow of a giant stretching across the harbor. You hear the distant cries of seagulls, the lapping of water, and you almost feel the heartbeat of ancient Rhodes itself. You imagine the people watching it rise, carrying each plate, welding, hammering, sweating under the Aegean sun. The Colossus was a testament to what humans can achieve when vision meets determination, when artistry meets ambition. Even though it no longer stands, the Colossus continues to inspire. Writers, historians, artists, and engineers ponder it. Modern reconstructions in illustrations and 3D models only hint at its grandeur. And the story lingers. A story of scale, ambition, and legacy. What would it be like to see it in person, to measure your own smallness against human ingenuity frozen in bronze? That question alone captures the imagination, even thousands of years later. In every retelling, in every sketch, the Colossus teaches us patience, ambition, and creativity. It is a reminder that humans have always dreamed beyond the possible, that even a city-state on a small island could leave a mark that echoes across history. And perhaps the most astonishing thing isn't just the statue itself, but the courage of those who dared to build it, who dared to imagine a giant standing sentinel over their home. If this journey into Rhodes' past has captured your curiosity, make sure to subscribe. There are countless more wonders, colossal structures, and ancient mysteries waiting to be explored, each with its own story, quietly waiting for someone curious enough to listen. The giant Shiva statue of Muruddeshwar, India's coastal colossus. Imagine standing on the sun-kissed shores of Muruddeshwar, where the Arabian Sea stretches endlessly toward the horizon. The waves gently lap at the base of a monumental figure, and as your eyes follow its towering frame upward, you realize something incredible, a colossal statue, almost 123 feet tall, rising like a guardian from the sea itself. This is the giant Shiva statue of Muruddeshwar, one of India's most awe-inspiring modern meets ancient monuments. Yet it carries the weight and feel of timelessness. Even as the breeze brushes your face and the seagulls wheel above, the statue's presence feels quiet, but commanding, almost as if it has been watching over this coastal land for centuries. Built in the late 20th century, the statue represents Lord Shiva, the destroyer and transformer in Hindu mythology, but its scale is what truly captivates anyone who approaches. Every detail, the serene expression, the intricate matted hair, the coiled serpent, and the trident reaching skyward, is carved with care, precision, and reverence. The craftsmanship is breathtaking, combining traditional sculptural methods with modern engineering. Imagine the teams of artisans and engineers working together, their hands shaping this vision from concrete, steel, and stone, knowing they were bringing a living myth into the physical world. The statue's location is not random. It stands on a hill overlooking the sea, with the Marudeshwar temple nestled at its base. Together they create a harmonious setting, blending spirituality, architecture, and nature. Visitors often describe a feeling of awe as they walk through the temple grounds and slowly ascend toward the statue. The sheer height makes the human figure feel minuscule, almost fragile, in comparison to the monument's grandeur. Standing directly at its feet, one cannot help but glance up, craning their neck, heart quietly pounding, as the full scope slowly settles in. Constructing a statue of this magnitude posed unique challenges. The coastal winds are fierce, and the salty sea air can erode structures over time. Engineers had to account for structural integrity, weight distribution, and resistance to corrosion. Layers of steel reinforcements were embedded deep within the structure, while exterior coatings protect the details from salt and moisture. Every curve of Shiva's body, every fold of his robes, every symbol he holds, required careful planning. And yet, despite these technical demands, the statue exudes a sense of serenity and spiritual presence, as if it had always belonged here. One of the most striking features is Shiva's peaceful face, looking toward the horizon, eyes half closed in meditation. It evokes the feeling of timeless contemplation, inviting visitors to pause, breathe, and reflect. Around the statue, waves crash, and gulls circle lazily, and for a moment, the world seems quieter. The statue doesn't shout, it doesn't demand attention, its enormity alone does the work, silently asserting the sacredness of this place. Beyond the sheer size and technical accomplishment, the statue carries cultural and spiritual significance. Lord Shiva is associated with cosmic balance, creation, destruction, and renewal. By placing him so prominently by the sea, the creators symbolically connected human aspiration with the vastness of nature. Pilgrims and travelers alike experience a quiet hum of reverence. Some whisper prayers, others simply stare in awe, caught between admiration for human skill and the feeling of something much larger, ancient, and eternal. Visitors also marvel at the surrounding views. From the hilltop, the town stretches below, temples peek through lush greenery, and the ocean extends toward the horizon. The juxtaposition of natural beauty and monumental human creation evokes a sense of wonder that is both peaceful and humbling. It's the kind of experience that lingers, long after you've descended from the statue's shadow and returned to the rhythms of everyday life. As night falls, the setting sun casts a golden glow on Shiva, and shadows stretch across the hill and the sea. The statue seems to transform with the light, its silent gaze continuing to watch over the coastline. You can almost imagine the stories it could tell if it were alive. Tales of devotion, artistry, community effort, and the enduring human desire to connect with something greater than ourselves. The giant Shiva statue of Marudeshwar reminds us of the power of human imagination and devotion. It's more than a statue, it's a statement, a testament to vision, skill, and the quiet, enduring force of culture and belief. Standing there, listening to the waves and feeling the weight of this monumental creation, one cannot help but reflect on how humans have always sought to reach beyond the ordinary, to leave a mark that resonates across space and time. If this journey along India's coastline has sparked your curiosity, make sure to subscribe, because there are countless more colossal structures, ancient wonders, and monumental mysteries waiting to be explored, each with its own quiet story, patiently waiting for someone curious enough to discover it. The giant Jebel Barkal statues, Sudan's forgotten kings. Rising sharply from the desert sands of northern Sudan, Jebel Barkal is more than a mountain. It is a silent witness to centuries of human ambition, devotion, and mystery. Its sheer cliffs, bathed in golden light at sunrise, seem almost alive, casting long shadows across the surrounding plains. Carved into these cliffs and standing at their base are the giant statues of kings, monumental figures that echo a forgotten age. These statues, some reaching astonishing heights, were created to honor the rulers of the Kingdom of Kush, a civilization that thrived alongside the mighty Nile and rivaled even ancient Egypt in power, culture, and artistry. The sheer size of these sculptures is enough to stop any visitor in their tracks. Standing before them, one feels small, almost insignificant, a fleeting presence compared to the silent majesty of stone. Jebel Barkal was considered sacred. The mountain itself was thought to be the home of the gods, a living divine presence. And so the statues were not merely decorative, they were meant to embody the power, authority, and eternal watchfulness of the kings they represented. Many of these figures are intricately carved, their faces serene yet commanding, their posture exuding both dignity and strength. Walking along the site, one can sense the deliberate planning behind their placement. Each statue aligns with particular features of the mountain or celestial events. Some face the rising sun, others gaze toward the Nile, connecting the sacred, the earthly, and the divine in a single monumental vision. This was more than artistry, it was astronomy, politics, and religion, carved in stone. What is particularly intriguing about Jebel Barkal is the scale and ambition of the structures. Carving stone at such size, with the tools available at the time, was an incredible feat. The artisans had to carefully measure, chisel, and lift enormous blocks, all while maintaining proportions that appear almost impossibly precise. How they accomplished this remains a subject of speculation and wonder. Some suggest ramps and scaffolding, others imagine techniques now lost to time. Surrounding the statues are temples, pyramids, and smaller carvings, creating a complex that functioned as a spiritual, political, and cultural hub. The main temple, thought to be dedicated to the god Amun, towers near the statues, reinforcing the divine authority of the kings. Pilgrims, priests, and courtiers would have walked these paths, their eyes constantly drawn upward toward the colossal guardians that watched over the sacred landscape. Over the centuries, Jebel Barkal has witnessed triumph and turmoil. Empires rose and fell, sands shifted, and yet the statues remain. Their preservation is remarkable, though time and human activity have left scars. Even so, the mountain exudes a timeless sense of authority, as if the kings themselves still linger, watching over their kingdom from a distance of millennia. Archaeologists are fascinated not only by the artistry, but also by the cultural connections these statues reveal. The kingdom of Kush had deep ties with Egypt, and some influences are evident in the statue's style, yet they retain distinct features that assert a unique Nubian identity. The merging of styles, the interplay of local and imported traditions, shows a civilization both connected and fiercely independent. Visitors to Jebel Barkal often remark on the feeling of being in a place that is simultaneously monumental and intimate. The statues loom over the plains, yet the details, the facial features, the carved headdresses, the inscriptions invite quiet contemplation. It is a place where one can feel the weight of history and the persistence of human creativity. One of the enduring mysteries of Jebel Barkal lies in the meaning behind the colossal scale. Why were these kings immortalized in such massive stone figures? Some suggest it was to intimidate rivals. Others believe it was to ensure their spirits could oversee the land eternally. Perhaps it was both, a combination of power, devotion, and the human desire to leave a mark that defies time itself. Even today, standing beneath the shadow of these giant statues, one cannot help but marvel. The sun casts long golden shadows across the desert. The wind whispers through the ruins, and for a moment, it is easy to imagine the grandeur of a kingdom that thrived thousands of years ago, now quiet, but never forgotten. Jebel Barkal's statues are more than remnants of stone, they are messages from the past, challenging us to understand ambition, spirituality, and artistry in ways we still struggle to grasp. They remind us that human beings, even long ago, sought to reach beyond the ordinary, to create something monumental, something eternal. If the story of the giant kings of Jebel Barkal captured your imagination, don't forget to subscribe. There are countless ancient wonders, impossible structures, and forgotten civilizations waiting to be discovered, each with its own story carved in stone and whispered across time.